What happens when you don't sleep for a week? During our preliminary research, we discovered that the effects of complete sleep deprivation can be pretty severe. So instead of complete no sleep, we're letting our writer and guinea pig get 3 hours of sleep every day, well below the recommended 8 hours of sleep a night every person should get. Ever wonder what lack of sleep does to the body? According to the American Psychological Association, only 20% of adults get a good quality sleep each night. Yet in 1942, only 8% of people reported getting only 6 hours or fewer of sleep a night. But in 2017, almost 50% of Americans are getting less than 8 hours of sleep. Clearly, we have a serious problem in our society. But how badly is it affecting us? Day 1. 10 a.m. Today I start the no sleep 1 week challenge, or little sleep I suppose, since no sleep can be pretty dangerous, even outright fatal. During my preparation for the challenge, I read about American and Soviet sleep deprivation interrogation techniques, where CIA and Soviet Gulag prisoners would be sleep deprived for days on end, in order to break down a tough prisoner's mental defenses and extract critical information. Apparently the brain can be so badly affected, however, that information can be unreliable, or just completely made up, which kind of begs the question of just how effective these techniques really are. I guess I'll find out. In order to test the effectiveness of CIA and Soviet sleep deprivation interrogation techniques, I've struck a deal with my girlfriend. I will hide her laptop somewhere, and she has until day 7 to extract the location from me. Without the laptop, she won't be able to watch Netflix or mess with her Pinterest, and she hates doing work emails from her phone because the screen is so small. So she has a huge incentive to try to get me to break. I guess we'll see if she can. 10 p.m. Last night I had a full night's sleep, so I'm not feeling too rough. It's about 10 p.m. now, and I'm tired, but I've definitely done longer stints without sleep during my years in the military. Working on my laptop, and girlfriend asked if she could borrow it, but I told her that would violate the terms of our challenge. She rolled her eyes and started watching Netflix on her phone. I'm not noticing any side effects so far, but it's going to be tough to stay awake when nobody else is up. I downloaded a few PS1 games to play through the night and keep me busy though. Day 2. 10 a.m. Slept my 3 hours. Then I woke up when girlfriend was getting ready for work. Waking up was pretty tough, but again, nothing I haven't experienced before. I'm not really hungry though and haven't eaten yet. And I remember this as a symptom of not sleeping from my time in the military. We used to take Adderall to power through days and days of little sleep. It's basically an amphetamine and jolts your system awake by giving you a ton of energy, but the side effects are pretty terrible. This time, there's no Adderall to cheat with, but from what I've read, the symptoms of no sleep can be just as bad. Guess we'll see. 10 p.m. I wasn't that tired last night, but this time I'm really tired. I brought in a patio chair to sit on because I'm afraid that if I sit on the couch or lay in bed for too long, I'll fall asleep. In the military, it was easier not to sleep if you were active and had something to do, but with nothing really to do, it's a lot harder. I took Dog for 1,000,000 walks today, and we'll probably take him on at least 2 more tonight just to keep active. Girlfriend asked me where the laptop was. Didn't tell her. Not writing it here either, just in case she steals my laptop when I'm not looking. I think watching YouTube and Netflix on her phone is getting to her more than my lack of sleep is getting to me. Research I read up on says that one of the first effects of sleep deprivation is the inability to show positive emotion on the face. Even happy people can't show it on their face with a smile. I asked my girlfriend if she felt that I was being this way, and she said I laugh less and don't smile as much, but I just seem normal, just really tired. Research also said I'd crave junk food as the body looks for sources of energy to keep itself going. That's definitely true. I drank one of those huge 16-ounce Cokes a little bit ago, and will probably drink another later tonight to help me stay up. Sorry, washboard abs, you're gonna have to wait at least 1 more week. Day 3. 10 a.m. I woke up after 3 hours and it literally felt like I had just gone to sleep a moment ago. I can't describe how tired I am, not hungry at all. Going to try to keep busy today working on other scripts to pass the time. 10 p.m. Definitely an advantage to have something to keep you physically active and alert like in the military, as opposed to just doing nothing. Tried to keep occupied with video games, but the action is getting harder to track. Tried to work on scripts to pass the time, but just too hard to concentrate. Been zoning out a lot, missed an entire conversation after girlfriend came home from work. Research says this is the brain trying to force a rest period even with your eyes open. You literally just check out mentally. It's called microsleeps and is supposed to happen less than 30 seconds. Pretty sure I microslept for a full 5-minute conversation. Girlfriend grilled me about her laptop. Didn't tell her, she'll never break me. Day 4. 10 a.m. I feel like I haven't eaten in a long time, but I'm hungry. Girlfriend brought me a bunch of nutrition bars yesterday because I haven't been eating much regular food. She left them all over the house, so there's always one in reach. Sometimes I eat one and then forget I just ate one, and then reach for one only to find the empty wrapper, and I realize I just ate one. I think that last sentence makes sense. Getting harder to concentrate, but trying hard. Girlfriend had to shake me awake when the alarm rang after 3 hours. She said she's concerned and thinks this is stupid and she's not going to wake me up again, so I had to set 3 alarms just to make sure I wake up. 10 p.m. I feel physically ill, like nauseous all the time. I walked the dog earlier and zoned out for I don't know how long. Guess I micro-slept in the middle of the sidewalk. Definitely not smiling or laughing much, also making a lot of spelling errors in this document. Hard to concentrate. Research says lack of sleep increases stress hormones because the brain can't rest and balance out your hormone levels. I definitely feel stressed. Girlfriend asked if I was ready to tell her where her laptop was. Didn't tell her. She said my job is dumb and I'm dumb and that she doesn't really need her stupid laptop anyways and went to sleep. Day 5, 10 a.m. Back in military days when we used to go with little sleep for days, there was a point you hit where you weren't really tired anymore even though your body was exhausted, like your brain tricking your body. I feel like that a lot now. Research says that your brain dumbs down when you don't sleep. I have to agree. To test myself, I tried to do a math quiz online and did horrible. I don't even feel like trying to write today. 10 p.m. Girlfriend asked for a laptop a bunch. Didn't tell her. She said no sex then. Joke's on her. Research says you lose your sex drive without sleep because your hormones are out of balance and lack energy. It's a Mexican standoff, but she's got no bullets in her gun. I win. Day 6, 10 a.m. Today is Saturday, but I forgot. I only realized because girlfriend didn't go to work today. Days sometimes blur together because I don't have the regular 9-to-5 job, but definitely affected by lack of sleep. Typically go somewhere on Saturdays, but no energy to do anything. Really trying hard not to sleep. Played all of Final Fantasy VII this week to keep busy. Great game, but guess what? 6 is better. You could suck an internet, but 7 is inferior to 6. 10 p.m. I'm pretty sure I fell asleep a few times today, but don't remember. Girlfriend insists I didn't, so either memory is completely falling apart or I slept with my eyes open. Research says that severe lack of sleep disrupts a brain's ability to form memories properly. Coupled with poor nutrition, this can cause serious memory problems and definitely have not been eating right. Too much junk food. But I guess, like research said, just the body trying to energize. Really hard to type these entries. Keep making a lot of mistakes and having to rewrite, plus sentences that don't make sense. I had to start setting alarms every 30 minutes on my phone to make sure I didn't fall asleep accidentally. Girlfriend also tried to get the location of the laptop from me, driving her nuts to not have it, specifically since it's the weekend. She warned me that experiment ends in one day, but lack of sex could last much longer if I didn't tell her. Not even the CIA is as evil as she is. They should put her in charge of interrogating terrorists. Day 7, 1 p.m. I don't know when I fell asleep last night, but I woke up 10 minutes ago. Definitely overslept the 3-hour limit. When I woke up, girlfriend was on her laptop, and when I asked her how she found it, she just kept smiling and saying she got me. I honestly don't remember telling her, but no way she found it on her own. I'm not convinced she didn't borrow a laptop that just looks like hers, so I would do my entry and write here where I hid her real laptop after I fall back asleep. Research says that's paranoia. Lack of rest rewires the brain and makes the irrational seem rational. Screwed up with the sleep, but going to try to stay up anyway. 10 p.m. I feel like I could stay up more, but I'm not going to. All day I've been spacing out, really hard to concentrate on writing entries, but not as irrational or hard as I thought it would be at the start. Keep reading and rereading sentences and hoping they make sense though. Been seeing things the last 2 days, like shadows moving in the corner of my eye. Research says extreme lack of sleep leads to hallucinations, and I agree. Will be sitting by myself and suddenly think I saw a figure moving at the edge of my vision. Knees also have been giving out on me and almost fell twice today from absolute exhaustion. I think I maybe accidentally told girlfriend where the laptop was, but forgot that I did that. Research says that it can happen with prisoners. They give up info and have no memory of it, or they make up false info because their brains are scrambled. But maybe she just borrowed the laptop, still trying to make me think I gave up the location, so I'll just say or write down where the real one is. She did show me pictures on it though and her login. That's pretty convincing, but I thought what if she just downloaded the pics and set it all up? That's definitely paranoia. So I think I'm going to officially call it here. Dear Internet, a week without sleep makes you grumpy, paranoid, makes you want junk food but not normal food, kills your sex drive, makes you fall asleep with your eyes open, and annoys your girlfriend. So don't do it. And Final Fantasy VI is still better than 7. We hate to break it to you, but nobody likes noodly arms. You don't have to be super buff to be attractive, but research consistently shows that women prefer men who are at least somewhat physically fit over a complete weakling. That same research, though, shows that women really aren't into the buff bodybuilder type, though. So if you're looking to up your physical appeal somewhat, then today we have a great challenge for you. Once more, we're putting your favorite and our least important staff writer on the line for your scientific curiosity. And today we're challenging him to do 30 push-ups a day, every day, for 30 days. For science. Day 1. I knew about this challenge for a while, so for a change, it's not as big a surprise as these things typically are. The reason why I knew about the challenge though was pretty simple. I'm pretty physically fit. I work out regularly and keep in shape. But to really get the true impact of this challenge, I thought it's only fair to try and reduce my fitness level ahead of time, as typically 30 push-ups isn't much of a challenge. So for 2 months prior to this, I stopped all working out and became a total couch potato. If you're a fan of these challenges, then you probably already know something about my social life and the fact that my girlfriend is a health Nazi and physical fitness aficionado. Typically, we work out together, and it's been kind of fun seeing her go off to the gym or the running track while I just kick up my feet. I'm no stranger to push-ups. 6 years in the military meant I did a lot of push-ups and a lot of different styles of push-ups. It's actually a really simple and effective way to dramatically improve your upper body strength, especially if you start combining different variations of push-ups to work different muscle groups. Typically, I'll do 9 sets of pull-ups in 3 variations while rotating to do 90 push-ups. Half will be normal push-ups and the other half will be diamond push-ups, which are a lot harder. After not working out for 60 days, I'm definitely not looking forward to punishing myself again, because the first few weeks are always the hardest as you build up your strength. I did my first set of 30 push-ups already today, and I was absolutely winded at the end. Barely got the last one. I think I definitely underestimated how much strength you can lose in 60 days. Hopefully this puts me closer to a physical fitness level of someone who might be trying this challenge without having much physical fitness before. And hopefully the results are inspiring for people who want to get into shape. As usual, I'll update every week on how I feel or what's changed. I'll be doing the 30 push-ups a day, and then at the end of each week, I'll do an endurance session and just see how many I can crank out in a row to see how I've improved. Because push-ups don't count unless you do them right, I'm not going to be focusing on speed, but rather on doing full, proper push-ups. Otherwise, you're really missing the point. Well, see you guys in a week. Day 7. Remember what I said about the first few weeks being the hardest when starting to get physically fit? I wasn't kidding. I used to breeze through my 30 push-ups no problem, but after 60 days of zero exercise, I want to puke by the time I crank out the last one. It reminds me of when I first got to boot camp years ago. I was in decent shape when I shipped out, but I definitely wasn't ready, and I remember getting to the point where I felt faint and sometimes saw stars in my eyes. I'm not seeing stars, but this isn't a picnic either. I'm barely managing to crank out the 30th push-up without taking any breaks. I did my marathon session today and got to 32 push-ups. Not exactly a stellar result. My arms are getting their definition back though, as is my chest. I hated feeling physically weak over the last 2 months, so it's nice to know I'm getting stronger again. But I'm a far cry from where I started. Just for fun, I tried to see how many diamond push-ups I could do and called it quits after 10. If you're wondering what diamond push-ups are, it's when you form a diamond by putting your hands together so that your thumbs meet to form the bottom point of a diamond and your pointer fingers meet to form the top of the diamond. Then you lower your body down and raise it up again, making sure that you maintain control the entire time. If you can't do a push-up and maintain control, then you're not really doing a push-up and you're not getting the benefit of one, so don't cheat. Week 1 results are 32 push-ups and 8 diamond push-ups maximum in a row. Not bad, but this is going to be a steep hill to climb. Day 14. The daily push-ups have gotten easier, but still aren't a walk in the park by any means. I caught the girlfriend snickering as I struggled. Then I reminded her that I used to breeze through 3 sets of these, to which she replied, "And I used to find you sexually attractive." I know she's joking, but damn, she can cut to the bone when she wants to. I'm noticing definition returning to my arms, but my body has always responded pretty quickly to physical fitness, so your results may vary. I'm naturally slim, but my chest is starting to regain its definition as well. For anyone hoping push-ups are going to get rid of a gut though, you're going to have to look at aerobic exercise because it's just not going to happen. I did my marathon sessions and managed 36 push-ups and 12 diamond push-ups in one go, which is a nice improvement. I'm looking forward to improving some more and to stop having my girlfriend tell me that I have little girl arms. She says the best way she can think of motivating me is through negative, sarcastic reinforcement. Day 21. Push-ups are boring, but I gotta admit, all physical exercise is. In my normal life, I stay pretty physically fit, but I don't actually like physical exercise. I know some people do. The girlfriend, for instance, actually loves it. Not the results, I mean, everybody loves that, but the actual struggling and physical exertion part. She's crazy. I like being fit, I like being strong, but I hate exercise, and I hate running most of all. Push-ups, though, are just plain boring.
I've gotten to a point where 30 push-ups isn't particularly hard anymore. It's still a bit of a struggle, but I can bust them out after 3 weeks with no problem. My arms are slowly gaining more definition, but I know from previous experience that if you're looking for physical results, push-ups aren't all that great for it. You definitely need to look to add other exercises. Push-ups are great for building strength, but exercises that are great for building strength aren't necessarily great for building bulk. There's a difference. Some of the biggest, most swole guys you might know have very little endurance and strength that only comes in bursts. Guys with less bulging muscles might have far greater endurance and much more strength over a longer period of time. That's the type of strength the military values the most, which is why very few soldiers look like bodybuilders. Plus, there's a lot of extra mass to be carrying around that's only going to slow you down. We used to call those types of guys show muscles because their muscles were there for show and not for strength. If you've been following along, you've probably noticed some definition in your arms and chest, especially when you bend your arm to flex as you pick something up. But if you're expecting to get swole just doing push-ups, it's not going to happen. You'll keep gaining some definition, but you're just not going to get big. And if you want even better definition, then you need to add free weights, or my personal favorite, calisthenics. I actually avoid weights most of the time and instead like to use the weight of the body itself when possible. That builds a lot of strength and endurance both. I did my marathon sessions today, got to 46 push-ups and 20 diamond push-ups. Not bad at all, and if you're following along, you're probably seeing similar results right around the 3-week mark. It's definitely getting easier. Like I said, it's actually kind of boring now. And I know if I want to keep getting stronger, doing just 30 a day isn't going to be enough. Day 30. Final marathon session today, and I clocked in 55 push-ups and 24 diamond push-ups. I should have gotten 60 push-ups, but the girlfriend was counting, and she refused to count 5 of them because she said, "My back isn't straight enough." I know for a fact my back was straight. I just think she deeply enjoys tormenting me, and I regret giving her that power by making her my official counter. My arms and chest don't feel all weak and noodly like they did after 2 months of couch potatoing. But I know I've got a long way to go to get back to where I was. If you're following the challenge at home, this is a great time to start adding variety to your routine, and you can safely make it an every other day routine to avoid feeling like you're burning out. The most dangerous part of a new workout routine is when you start missing days. Then it becomes easier to just quit altogether. If you don't have a strong tradition of working out, switch to doing it every other day instead to give yourself a break. And if you've been doing our challenge and are in the final week now just like me, now's the perfect time to start adding to your routine. I really recommend you buy a pull-up bar for home. It's a simple, easy, and great exercise that will add both strength and definition. It's a lot harder than push-ups, but seeing physical results is always a great motivator to keep on going. Of course, it always helps if you have a health nut drill instructor girlfriend who loves tormenting you with sarcastic comments about having the arms of a little girl. Hello infographics fans, it's time for another awesome challenge, all in the name of science. We're concerned with your hygiene because we hate to break it to you, but despite all the go natural fads out there, you should definitely be taking time to give yourself a good scrub once in a while. As usual though, we want to find out what happens to your body and mind over the long term. So once more, we're tasking our favorite, or least important anyway, staff writer with another awesome challenge. All in the name of finding out what happens if you stop showering for a month. For science. Day 1. Okay, I have a confession. I didn't tell the girlfriend about this challenge because I'm 100% sure that would not go down well at all. Hygiene is kind of important in a relationship, especially when you share a bed and are as physically active as we are. But also, there's the fact that she's been less than happy with previous challenges. That would be putting it mildly. Also, though, there's the fact that she's leaving for a film shoot in 4 days, and she's going to be on location for the next 3 weeks, so she's going to pretty much miss the entire challenge. This literally couldn't have played out any better. I think she's been getting suspicious though. Typically I get a few weeks between these challenge assignments to rest and recoup, and also because if I didn't, I'm pretty sure my girlfriend would single-handedly destroy everyone in the infographics staff. She's a trained stunt woman and can box. She's kinda scary. Anyways, she knows that right around now is when I should be getting a new challenge assigned, and I think she's suspicious that I haven't brought anything up yet. Maybe I'll just tell her there's a production delay or something. By the way, if you're wondering, we obviously don't do these challenges all back to back in real time. By the time you get to watch these episodes, the challenges were already completed a while ago to give us, or me I guess, time to do more. So I'm just not gonna say anything until she gets back, which will be about the time the challenge is over. As usual, I did my research and it turns out not showering can lead to everything from acne to infections. But turns out that showering all the time is actually pretty bad for you as well. That's because your body naturally produces a layer of
protection on your skin against outside infection, and all your vigorous scrubbing destroys this layer and leaves you prone to getting sick or infections. That's why some health shops sell probiotic sprays to help you grow your healthy body bacteria while making you smell nice, which, by the way, is complete nonsense and does not work. So stick to real science, not pseudoscience. It'll be cheaper in the long run. Just limit how long you shower each day, and instead of scrubbing your entire body with soap every time, just do your stinkiest areas: groin, armpits, and butt, and rinse off the rest with water. Your body will thank you. Of course, I won't be allowed to do even that much, and I'm not looking forward to this. See, I've already done the no shower challenge in my life during my time in the military, and it was absolutely not pretty. Luckily, everybody was in on it as well, so everyone stank equally. In fact, we pretty much just smelled like gunpowder, dirt, and sweat. Though we did sometimes have the opportunity to take what we called baby wipe showers, where we used a case of baby wipes to wipe down our vital areas. By the way, if you know anyone deployed overseas to a forward location with no facilities, forget about sending cookies or books or anything like that. Just send baby wipes. Your very smelly and grateful military will thank you for it. So I worked a baby shower clause into this challenge, and every 3 days I'll be allowed to wipe groin, butt, and armpits with baby wipes because, you gotta have some hygiene in life. For the rest of me though, not a drop of water will touch my skin. And since it hardly ever rains in Los Angeles, that's a guarantee you can count on. See you in 7 days, YouTube. Day 7. The girlfriend was definitely suspicious. Is suspicious, I should say. She left without asking what, if any, challenge there was now. But she did say that I was smelling a bit ripe when she kissed me goodbye at the airport. She's been texting me, asking what the challenge is, and I didn't want to lie to her, so I just told her that she didn't want to know. Thankfully, she's filming 12+ hours a day, so she's typically too exhausted to push the issue. It won't surprise anyone for me to say this, but I smell. It's interesting though, because at first you really do smell quite bad, but then suddenly it's like your body achieves some sort of smell equilibrium, a smellibrium. Or maybe I've just gotten used to the smell myself. I've decided that this month the only days I'll exercise are the days I'm allowed to take a baby wipe shower, and I realize that's kind of cheating, but hey, I still do have to leave the house and run errands or meet with people, you know. Of course, deodorant and cologne go a long way in those cases, and I've definitely been doing more handshakes than hugs lately. Not much else to report, to be honest. Day 14. My girlfriend's best friend came by the house today, quite unexpectedly. She said that she was here to borrow something from her, but was really vague with the details, and just said that she'd been told it was in the hallway closet. I was immediately suspicious because A, my girlfriend is an evil mastermind, and it doesn't matter how busy or far away she is, if something is up, she has to know what. And B, my girlfriend really is an evil mastermind, I'm not joking. I saw through the transparent ploy, and it didn't help that the friend kept looking around the house as if expecting to find some freak show that was part of some sadistic internet challenge. I'm also lucky that today was a baby wipe shower day, so my secret is safe. I sent the girlfriend a text telling her to stop spying on me, and she just sent back, and I quote, suspicious face emoji. I catch whiffs of myself sometimes when the wind turns outside and I smell. Definitely not good, but not awful. I am incredibly itchy though, especially in the groin. That's no surprise, given that sweat tends to accumulate there a great deal, followed by infection if you're not careful. I wonder if my baby wipe showers are going to be enough to keep things under control down there. I gotta tell you, I'm feeling pretty gross and really limiting the amount of time I spend out of the house. Luckily, Skype is a thing and I can reschedule almost all of my meetings to Skype calls. Thank you, technology. Day 21. Another of girlfriend's friends came by the apartment 2 days ago. I didn't let her in. I just peered out of the front blinds like some very smelly criminal as she knocked on the door until she quit and walked away. Even hundreds of miles away, the girlfriend is persistent, but not nearly sneaky enough. Okay, this is bad. I definitely got a rash in my groin area spreading down my thighs, and I'm starting to seriously question continuing with this challenge. I know it's not a big deal, just really itchy, but it's definitely extremely gross. I can't believe that people actually live like this. By choice, I mean. I miss you, my dear, wonderful shower. I was a fool for years, never appreciating what had been available to me at the twist of a knob. Loss was my cruel teacher, and every day since I've been instructed on how good I had it, how good you were to me, and how little I appreciated it. Please forgive me, shower. I promise to appreciate and adore you, and to rinse your soap scum every day.
I think I smell too bad even for the dog because he's definitely not been cuddling up to me the way he typically does at night. That's a pretty damning turn of events coming from an animal who literally can't stop himself from smelling dog butts the first chance he gets. Of course, he doesn't smell like a rose either because he's an absolute maniac around water and will utterly destroy the bathroom unless you physically put him in the shower with you, close the doors, and bathe him that way. So it turns out this 1 month no shower challenge was for both of us, but unlike me, I know for a fact he likes to smell stinky given many times I've had to chase him away from rolling around in God knows what at the park. This rash thing though definitely is going to have to be addressed, and luckily I know exactly what to do. See, my time in the military didn't just teach me about not showering, but what to do in these situations, and the answer is rubbing alcohol. It burns like all the 7 hells, but wiping down with rubbing alcohol destroys the surface layer infection which causes the rash. So tonight, I'm gonna set my groin on fire and kill this before it gets any worse. I really hope you appreciate what I do for you, YouTube. Day 30. The girlfriend came home 2 days ago and I finally had to tell her, though to be honest, I think she probably knew the moment she took her first whiff of me. I've been banned from sleeping in the bedroom and she made me clean all the bed linens before she'd sleep in our bed. I also had to Febreze it down completely. Then she took the Febreze from me and sprayed me with it liberally and told me I wasn't allowed to cuddle her until, and I quote, "this stupid challenge is over and you go back to normal, and by the way, you're so lucky I wasn't here for any of this nonsense or you'd be living in a hotel." She didn't call my job stupid though, the way she typically does, and that's how I know she missed me. She's secretly a huge softie, a terrifying, scheming, evil mastermind of a softie. So the rash I had a week ago disappeared thanks to the rubbing alcohol treatment, which I'm pretty sure doesn't count as a shower. But let me tell you, it feels very much like showering your groin with a flamethrower. I did notice red blotches popping up under my armpits, which I suspect is another future rash in the making, but thankfully today I got to shower, so I fully expect those will be going away soon. All in all, I definitely don't recommend not showering for a full month. It's going to make you smell terrible and kind of affect your mood too, although I think that was just a side effect of me avoiding leaving the house as much as I could. When I was a kid, my mom used to tell me that I had enough dirt behind my ears to grow potatoes, and well mom, this time you might actually be right. Now if you'll excuse me, I'm going to go enjoy the longest shower of my life and scrub from head to toe so I can reclaim my right to sleep in my own bed. A man's home is his kingdom after all, though in my case it's obvious that I'm just renting it from my girlfriend. If you always tell the truth, you'll never have to remember a lie. That's very sage advice and a good tip for living your life without fear of being caught in embarrassing social situations. Yet everyone lies, even if it's just small white lies in polite conversation. Could you go a full week without telling even a single polite lie though? Today we're finding out as we once more turn to your favorite guinea pig in this special challenge episode. Don't lie for a week. Day 1. What a strange challenge. I have to admit, this is another one of those that seems really easy right off the bat. But with some more thought, the sinister truth is revealed. I don't make a habit of lying. In fact, I pride myself in being honest, even when it's at a detriment to myself. I even go so far as to make sure that I don't make any promises I doubt I can keep, which is something we routinely do as people. You don't have to be an underhanded liar to make promises you're only halfway sure you can keep, and often we do this to make other people feel good. But I've made it a point to ensure that what I say is what I do, no matter what. That means that sometimes I can't make certain promises, and it's been awkward and difficult in social situations at times. And that's when the truly sinister nature of this challenge hit me. I can't lie at all for a week, even in the meaningless conversation with people that fills our lives. See, the reality is that we all lie all the time. When you go to the store and the cashier or clerk asks you, "Having a good day?" How many of you have told the truth? How many times have you had a really horrible day and just said the truth to a complete stranger? Of course you don't do that because you want to grease the wheels of polite social interaction. So everyone joins in the big fake theater production that we call daily interaction, and we tell giant lies to each other. "Oh, my day was wonderful. Thank you for asking." The clerk doesn't really care what your day is like, and you are definitely not going to tell her that your day was absolute crap, because then you'd be a weirdo. And yet somehow it's less weird to be a huge liar and pretend your day is fine. Yet, if you were to lie to this person about something else, like the fact that you swapped price tags on an item, she'd be furious. It's strange when you think about it, the way that you can be a total weirdo for not lying sometimes and yet still be a bastard if you do lie other times. So I guess I've realized that this challenge is going to be harder than I thought. In a way though, I'm kind of excited about it. I get to drop my mask for a full week and just tell the honest truth. I get to be completely blunt, well, more blunt than I typically am, and that's kind of liberating. So at the same time that this challenge worries me, I'm kind of eager to get it started. See you guys midweek in 2 days. Day 3. I feel like I say this a lot, but this challenge is harder than I expected. And as I predicted, the real challenge comes from the polite little white lies we constantly tell each other. I read some articles on lying out of curiosity, and it turns out that 60% of people tell at least one lie in a 10-minute conversation. Men and women both tell the same amount of lies, but the difference is in how they lie. Women are more likely to lie in order to make someone feel better, while men lie to make themselves look better. This makes sense. I've watched my girlfriend interacting with her friends before and definitely caught her telling some minor whoppers for the sake of making a friend that feels bad feel better. No, I don't think your boyfriend is cheating on you, but I do think you guys should talk. I've heard her say this one before to a friend, whom we both highly suspected had a boyfriend that was definitely cheating on her. But of course, you can't just say to someone with a breaking heart, yeah, your boyfriend is a scumbucket. You have to be gentle, prod them toward the truth with a tiny little lie. Give a tiny little bit of hope that will move the person in the right direction toward discovering the truth on their own. Of course I've done the same thing. I clearly remember once in conversation with another couple we had just met where I rounded up on the number of days one of my art shows featuring my photo prints lasted. It wasn't a huge rounding error. I simply went from about 13 days to, quote, about half a month, end quote, for the sake of simplicity. But it was in fact a lie, and it did make me look better in the eyes of the people I told it to. It's probably difficult to ascertain the veracity of a study on lying when people can, well, lie about the results, but this one seems to be right on the money. Anyway, so the little white lies that I'm not telling have been getting me in trouble, or at least into awkward social situations. I went to the store and decided that it would be the perfect place for my first stab at this challenge, since the cashiers at my local grocery store constantly ask how my day is, and if I found everything okay. Truth be told, my day was going pretty okay, but when I got to the register, a little kid belonging to the woman behind me kept acting up and running into me as he threw his little temper tantrum. So when the cashier asked me if everything was okay, I told him that I wish that they would throw bratty little kids out of the store if their parents refused to discipline them. Bam, just like that, everyone sort of froze. Then the woman behind me said, "Excuse me?" And that's when all hell broke loose. I slowly turned to her face, and knowing I couldn't lie, I said, "I think you're a terrible parent because you can't discipline your child as he repeatedly runs into random strangers as he's throwing a temper tantrum in public." I had my girlfriend with me because we were doing our weekly shopping, and at this point her jaw slowly dropped open, and she got this really blank look on her face. Then a flash of recognition struck her as she realized that I couldn't tell a lie. The woman's mouth fell open too, as if she was going to say something, but she sort of just stood there sucking in air angrily like a fish out of water. It gave me enough time to swipe my debit card and pay for my groceries, then calmly walk away. My girlfriend still hadn't said anything, and when we got into the car, she simply put her hand over mine and said, "Please don't get us killed this week." Next stop was Trader Joe's to pick up a few things we prefer to buy there over a normal grocery store. For those of you who don't know, TJ's is a bit fancier grocery store whose quality seems on average a little better than a normal store, but it's also pricier, and I have a love-hate relationship with it. Some things are well worth the price, but other things are just marked up nonsense meant to cater to the all-organic crowd who pays extra money for buzzwords on the packaging that nutritionally and scientifically mean nothing. So this time our shopping went without incident, and we got to the cashier who asked, "Did you find everything okay?" And that's when things went south again. As soon as he started asking this question, I think my girlfriend had a flash of recognition and remembered my opinions on Trader Joe's prices because she tried to cut him off. Too late though, he asked the question and I was obliged to answer truthfully. Actually, no. I found that you guys are marking up prices on a lot of items for no other reason than that they're labeled organic, and yet not only is organic food no different nutritionally than non-organic food, in a lot of cases it's both more polluting for the environment and more dangerous to human health than non-organic food because of the use of organic pesticides. Your trendiness is gouging people financially, hurting them physically, and making the world a worse place. I'd like our viewers to imagine going to a Veterans Day parade and then jumping over the railing and running out into the parade butt naked while screaming, "I love Al Qaeda." That is in effect what saying anything negative about organic food in trendy Los Angeles is like. Now imagine that it's not a Veterans Day parade that you're crashing as you scream that you love Al-Qaeda, but that it's the Pentagon itself. That's what it's like to trash talk organic inside a Trader Joe's or a Whole Foods in Los Angeles. It's social suicide, if not actual suicide, as hordes of angry hipsters tar and feather you for fact-checking their organic gods. Someone might as well have just died inside that store after my answer, given how quiet the checkout lanes got. My girlfriend just facepalmed herself, and I could tell that she was already thinking how she could never return to this particular Trader Joe's again. I guess it's a good thing there's one every 3 miles in this town. You know, this challenge worried me at first, but I'm finding it strangely liberating, almost liking it. Day 7. I think nobody is more happy this challenge is over than my girlfriend, who is probably right now carefully reconsidering what friends she can and can't hang out with anymore, and which stores she's allowed to show her face at anymore. After our shopping fiascos this week went on much as normal, and then the weekend got here. This weekend, we had another social function to go to, which is pretty much a must-do for every person who works in any capacity within the entertainment industry here in LA. Basically, they're just get-togethers for actors, producers, writers, and directors who all try to find someone with more power and influence or money than them. And then they suck up to them all night long, trying to get them interested in their project. It's a huge waste of time, and I 100% hate these things, but they are sadly a bit of necessity for working professionals, so they can occasionally do some real networking. I typically haunt the bar while the girlfriend networks for the both of us, because I'm not a people person. This event was different, because I had a secret superpower up my sleeve to handle the evening with. I couldn't lie. Not even a tiny polite lie to make awkward conversations a tiny bit better. I had to 100% tell the truth, and I was really looking forward to it, probably as much as the girlfriend was dreading it. She warned me at least 5 times to be nice, and I told her that I was going to be so nice that I would be 100% honest with everyone. That did little to calm her down. At first, the evening went okay. Then inevitably, we both got cornered by someone we've met before who constantly tries to talk about his projects, which always sound terrible and I have absolutely zero interest in. He's always been a nice enough guy, and I've always found a polite way to excuse myself from the conversation. This time, I couldn't do that. So this time I simply said, I'm sorry, none of this interests me at all, and I don't see us ever collaborating on anything, so instead, I'm gonna go get a drink. Then I walked away. I don't know how he reacted because I wasn't looking, but I did catch him glaring at me later in the night. See, told you, people get mad at you if you tell the truth pretty much as often as if you lied to them and they found out. Needless to say, I will likely not be making a reappearance at any of these networking events anytime soon. And you know what? I'm totally okay with that. Truth be told, I was afraid of this challenge at first, but by the end of this week, I feel kind of liberated. I've no doubt burned a bunch of social bridges, and I can probably never step foot in at least 4 different grocery stores now. But any bridges I burned were with scumbags anyway, so I'm feeling pretty okay about this last week. The girlfriend, on the other hand, is a bundle of nerves right about now, because she's always been our social diplomat, smoothing the rough waters I accidentally create, and this week, she's been the League of Nations trying to prevent World War I. She deserves a medal for all the social cleanup work she's gonna have to do over the next few weeks. I really felt like I owed her one, so just before the clock ran out on the week-long challenge, I reminded her that I couldn't lie for another 5 minutes. Then looked at her as she lay in bed reading with no makeup on and her hair a mess, and I told her that she was the most beautiful woman I'd ever met. She got a big smile on her face, and I think everything's gonna be okay after all. Mars. It's humanity's next big goal in space, with plans by NASA to put people on its surface sometime in the next 2 decades. As part of its preparations for a Mars mission, NASA wanted to find out what the effects of extended exposure to microgravity would do to the human body. In order to explore the issue, NASA paid several people thousands of dollars to lay around in bed for several weeks, studying how their muscles atrophied and weakened from a lack of exercise. Today, NASA is definitely not as inspiring as it was in the Apollo era, but we're still inspired to go ahead and find out what a whole week of being a couch bed potato would do to the human body. So once more, we're putting our finest scientists and engineers on the question. And since we have literally none of those, we're gonna go ahead and have our resident lab rat earn his cheddar by laying in bed for a week straight. Day 1.
I'm a big fan of NASA and anything space-related, really. I think there's nothing humanity does that's nobler than our quest to understand and explore space. So imagine my excitement when the infographic show told me that they had a challenge for me straight from NASA. I've been forced to live in the wild for 3 days straight, been homeless for another 3 days, moved in with my parents for a whole month. When I heard that this next challenge involved NASA, the possibilities were endless. Would I be going to space camp? Maybe to a real-life rocket launch? Would I get to meet an astronaut? No. I get to lay in bed for 7 days straight, all because somebody over at the office read an article about NASA bed studies and thought, this sounds horrible. Let's get the challenge guy to do it. It was probably the narrator. Sometimes in my scripts I force him to pronounce really terrible words and I think he has it in for me. Check out our lightning plus volcano video where I forced him to pronounce the name of every major Icelandic volcano. It wasn't, but that's a great revenge idea. Alright, so as usual, let's go over the rules. Rule number 1, no leaving the bed except for bathroom breaks. This does not include a shower, by the way, which means I'm gonna have to resort to the old baby wipe shower from my days in the military. Rule number 2 is I can't move around. I have to replicate the NASA study as closely as possible. I headed on over to nasa.gov and read up on the study, and participants were encouraged to move their upper bodies around but not their lower bodies. Apparently astronauts in space mostly use their upper bodies, which kinda makes sense, there's no walking in 0G. And in space you can use your hands for grabbing onto stuff and pushing off, but legs are kind of useless. Unlike the NASA participants though, I'm doing this challenge alone. I mean, the girlfriend will be around, but she's got her own life and no way in hell could infographics pay her enough to lay down for a week straight. I'm pretty sure she would go criminally insane if she wasn't allowed to jog and exercise for 7 days in a row. The NASA subjects had other people in the room with them, and I guess that helped pass the time. I even saw a photo of 2 of the participants playing Connect 4 together, with the game on a small table between their beds. I did some research on what happens to your body when you're stuck in bed, and well, it's mostly not good. Back in the 1900s and earlier, doctors prescribed bed rest for everything from the common cold to decapitation, because, medical science still thought that blowing smoke up someone's bum could help resuscitate them from drowning. That's a fact, and you should look it up. Turns out though that getting fresh air and sunshine isn't just something your mother used to say to get you to stop playing video games, but it's actually healthy and beneficial for a body that's recuperating from illness or injury. Obviously, your muscles deteriorate from a lack of activity. Gravity constantly forces your muscles to keep you upright, so they're always getting a workout every time you stand up. Did you know though that long bed rest can affect even your bones? Without the stress of keeping you upright, bones lose density and become more prone to breaking. Blood can also pool in your legs, which can potentially lead to things such as blood clots. While immobile, your heart actually beats quicker and pumps blood around the body at lower volumes, which means less oxygen. This is why you can actually feel more tired after loafing around than if you were just engaging in normal activity. There's literally a laundry list of bad stuff that can happen from laying in bed for a week straight, and I don't feel like scaring myself any more than I already have, so I'm just gonna end right there. I do need to mention bed sores though, which typically affects older people who are stuck in bed for months at a time. They're caused by blood pooling and the body not being moved around, and you should absolutely go and do a Google image search of bed sores right now, or not if you like to keep your lunch down. Alright, I've got my TV, laptop, tablet, PlayStation, and cell phone along with several books. I think I'm ready for this. See you guys in a few days. Day 3. I gotta say, I'm not exactly thrilled with this challenge. I remember about 1.5 years ago I was approached with the idea of doing crazy challenges for the infographic show. I thought it sounded exciting, even if my very first one, Eat the Hottest Pepper, was extremely painful and almost sent me to the emergency room. I never really mind the danger or discomfort as long as I'm doing something new and weird and out of the ordinary. Laying in bed for 3 days though has been the single most boring challenge in the history of challenges. My days typically start in the morning with the girlfriend getting up to go work out, coming back to shower and then get ready for work. I have nothing to do, so I stay awake to kiss her goodbye for the day and then I just kind of go back to sleep. I've noticed I sleep a lot more now, by the way. I guess it's a side effect of laying around all day. Now I obviously can't leave the bed for food or to walk the dog, but that's okay because modern life has a solution to such trivial problems. I signed up for a dog walking service, and I use both Uber Eats and Postmates for food delivery, and, well, okay, remember my challenge where I stayed in a bathtub for a day straight?
Obviously, I need to sort the issue out with not being able to answer the door. We have a small one-bedroom apartment, and our bedroom's doors are huge and open right up into the living room. With the doors open, I can literally lay in bed and see the front door, which I have the girlfriend leave unlocked. Then, to explain why I can't go to the door to pick up my food or answer it for the dog walker myself, well, I'm not super proud of this, but I had the girlfriend borrow the bottom half of a body cast from the props department of the show she's on. Basically, I can throw the thing on in a hurry, and it looks like I have 2 broken legs. Don't judge me. Judge the infographic show. I always make sure to send my delivery person or dog walker a note and explain the situation so there's little weirdness as possible. I still very much remember Susan from my Don't Leave the Bathtub for 24 Hours challenge, so I'm really trying not to freak any more delivery drivers out. Susan, if you're out there in the internet land, I'm still sorry. I swear, I'm not a creepy weirdo. Alright, so food and dog walking isn't a problem, and you know what? Everyone so far has been pretty cool about it. They come to the door and they bring me my food to bed and typically say something like, "Hope you feel better soon," and I mumble something like, "Yeah, thanks," because I feel like a terrible person for pretending to be disabled. At night, the girlfriend is in charge of cooking, which is a total disaster because she may be a modern, independent woman that don't need no man, but she's a terrible cook. While other little girls were pretending to be princesses, having tea parties, and learning to bake cookies, she was doing martial arts and basically training to be a secret government assassin. I'm not gonna pretend like that's not kinda really hot, but man, I really wish I could leave the bed to cook. Food, though, is its own problem. You know what's really hard? To eat every meal lying down. You'd feel like you're halfway to choking every time you swallow, and eating something like soup is a disaster in the making. The girlfriend actually banned me from eating liquid food because twice now I've made a mess on myself in the sheets trying to slurp down some soup. She does, after all, still have to sleep on this bed at night. My hygiene has definitely taken a bit of a dive, but the baby wipes help a lot. I know I've said this before, but if you know anyone deployed overseas, send them baby wipes in your care package. Baby wipes are a godsend for anyone downrange. I totally forgot about brushing my teeth though, because as the girlfriend loves to point out, I often miss the most completely obvious details. I just tell her that that's because I'm a big picture kind of guy, to which she shakes her head and mutters under her breath. I mean, she's not wrong. When I planned our trip to the Bahamas a few years ago, I planned literally everything we do and totally forgot to book a hotel. I only remembered when we landed and were standing in front of the passenger pickup area and she asked me which hotel shuttle was ours. I told her that, well, any of them could be ours if we wanted them to be, and that's the story of how we almost ended up sleeping in the streets of the Bahamas and why I'm no longer in charge of planning trips. Anyways, so I have a bowl and a bottle of water for brushing my teeth, which the girlfriend has to dump after every time I use it. I reminded her that one day when I'm old and decrepit, she would have to do this for me every day, and she kind of just stared at me for a moment. I swear I could see her doing the mental math and calculating if I was worth the investment. I might seriously need to look into this marriage thing. Nothing else to report, just a lot of boredom and weirdness trying to do everyday tasks when you're stuck in bed. 0 out of 10, would not recommend. See you at the end of this. Day 7. Well, I feel like I've been saying this more lately, but I'm glad that challenge is over. I literally leapt for joy when my final hour was up, and then because I hadn't used my legs for a week, I immediately fell over and twisted my ankle. On the way down, I knocked my head against the nightstand hard enough to get a bit dizzy. Because I have a history of concussions from my years overseas, the girlfriend insisted on taking me to the ER, so I hobbled to the car, leaning on her the entire way. Not only was my ankle pretty sprained, but I could barely keep myself upright due to my legs being so weak. Also, the fact that the blood now had to go uphill to get to my brain for the first time in 7 days forced my heart to work harder, and it felt like a racehorse in my chest. I honestly thought for a little bit that I'd have a heart attack. I really did not expect the impact that laying in bed for 7 days would have on me physically. I thought at best it'd just be a bit weak, but I was having serious issues. At the ER, the doctor said my blood pressure was way over, and he was seriously concerned by how weak I was. I really didn't want to tell him about what I'd done for a week or why I did it, but the girlfriend was so concerned she basically fessed up to the whole thing. So great, I'm basically now a weird story that the doctors and nurses at my local hospital tell each other every day now. Hey, remember that guy that came in with a busted head and twisted ankle? Yeah, he's some sort of YouTube weirdo or something? Honestly, dignity does not come high on the list of employee benefits you get for working for the infographic show. Alright, my ankle's going to take a while to heal and my head will be fine eventually. The doctor warned me against any more laying in bed though, and recommended I slowly start to exercise again, starting with things like walking around the block. He also basically gave me the spiel on the same warning of what laying all day could do to your body that I'd already read online. But he was familiar with the NASA study and pointed out that they had trained medical professionals on hand during the entire length of the study. Jeez. point taken. Other than my very inglorious ending to this challenge though, how was the rest of my week? Well, in a word, boring. In several more words, the most boring week of my life. I remember years ago on a deployment, me and a partner laid under a camo net on the side of a hill for 36 hours straight, just watching the backside of a remote village. All we did was watch and count the number of people in the village, taking careful notes of who went where and for how long. Just hours and hours and hours of watching, and you know what? That was more exciting than laying in bed for 7 freaking days in a row. You'd think with access to the internet, video games, and food delivery on demand, laying around wouldn't be that hard, but let me tell you, there's only so many consecutive games of XCOM 2 Long War you can play before you're begging for an actual alien invasion so you have a reason to run out of your bed. There's only so many cat videos, meme videos, and old Star Trek The Next Generation episodes that you can watch before you're just aching for something physical to do. At one point, I was fantasizing about a burglar breaking into the house, practically wishing for it to happen, just so I had an excuse to leave the bed. My bed, which I normally have an excellent relationship with because it's warm, cozy, and just the right level of both firmness and softness, became my prison. I yearned to feel the cold wooden floor of our apartment under my feet. I even envied the girlfriend every time she went outside to go for a jog. And if you've been following these challenge episodes, then I've already made my position on running very clear to you. In short, spending a week in bed laying down the entire time is a different type of hell. Eating became a weird, very stressful activity, and you always feel like you might choke. Forget about soup or anything saucy, unless you want to make a mess all over yourself. The physical effects were probably the worst though. I felt fatigued all the time, and after the week was up, I could barely walk and keep myself up. I could literally feel the blood pumping in my head, and my heart felt like it was going to call it quits, just from the stress of having to pump blood against the force of gravity again. I applaud the brave men and women who laid in bed for 90 days so NASA could study the effects of microgravity on the human body, and see why they got paid so well for it too. For me though, I'm happy with my 8 hours every night, though I think I'm gonna give the couch a try for a few days. Me and my bed need a break from each other right now. I know it was you that did this to me, narrator. This isn't over by a long shot. You know, I heard there's a town in Wales by the name of Sanfai Puswingus Guger Chulintropus Santosilio Goch, and I think we should do an entire episode on it. I think I need to get paid more too. Another challenge episode and another cruel test we put one of our staff writers through for your scientific curiosity. This time, we're concerned with the effect technology has on our lives. As various studies have shown, children spend less time outdoors now than ever before. Instead of being outside playing on bicycles or romping through the woods, kids today are spending the majority of their free time inside playing video games. And instead of getting together to chat with friends, they chat over voice chat services or inside their favorite games. We're not saying that this is all bad, but we do wonder what the effect of never going outside has on the average person. So to answer that pressing question, we once more sacrifice the health and sanity of one of our junior staff writers in order to seek answers. Hello and welcome to another challenge episode of the Infographic Show. Today we're going to see what happens if you don't go outside for a full month. The rules are simple. Our guinea pig, employee, must stay indoors for a full 30 days with absolutely no stepping out for any reason whatsoever. To that effect, we hooked them up with in-home grocery delivery so that there's no reason to leave the house. With high-speed internet, Netflix, and home delivery of groceries, what more could a person want? Let's find out. Day 1. Another challenge. I'm positively thrilled. At least this time I don't have to eat any atomic peppers or go without sleep, which was a nightmare. By comparison, this staying indoors thing sounds like a breeze. I already work from home anyway, so aside from shifting responsibility for walking the dog over to the girlfriend, there's not much of an adjustment to be made. It does suck I'll miss a few movies that are coming out because I love seeing them in theaters, but I'm sure I can catch them after the 30 days in one of the cheaper places. It'll be tricky to navigate some of my social responsibilities like hanging out with me or the girlfriend's friends, but nothing that should be hard to explain away. I'll keep a journal as usual of my experiences, and like usual, I've done my research first on what I should expect. First, there's the obvious warnings about vitamin D deficiency. Apparently, there's very little food that has any vitamin D actually in it, and we receive most of what we need from the sun. The sun's rays convert fats from the food we eat into activated vitamin D called calcitriol, which in turn helps us absorb and use calcium, which strengthens and grows our bones. If you don't get enough vitamin D, you can actually develop the rickets and osteoporosis as your bones weaken, and you can be susceptible to them breaking. which would really suck. Lastly, apparently your skin can become discolored as you lose pigmentation in your skin, until you start looking like one of those cave salamanders they find living deep underground. I asked the girlfriend if she'd still love me if I turned into a cave salamander, and she told me I was stupid and to get a real job. She's clearly less a fan of these challenge episodes than I am. Vitamin D apparently also helps combat things like prostate cancer, which is of great concern to me as I happen to be very happy with the current state of my prostate. It also helps combat heart disease and improve circulation by managing the levels of nitric oxide in your blood and skin, which lowers blood pressure. Lastly, exposure to sunlight and fresh air helps combat depression, and numerous studies all say that being stuck indoors is a great way to get yourself into a pretty deep funk. Apparently, just looking at the color green can help fight depression and lift your mood, which I guess makes sense given our evolutionary history growing up in the outdoors. Also helps explain why just about everyone finds green fields of grass so comforting a sight. In light of the health effects I listed, I thought I maybe should take a vitamin D supplement and maybe put up some posters of green grass. But I decided in order for this experience to be pure, I couldn't cheat. So once more, putting my health on the line for the sake of science, or at least YouTube. Day 7. It feels strange not having been outside for a week straight, especially because typically me and the girlfriend make plans every Saturday to go out and do something together. This week it was just staying at home and watching some Redbox, which of course she had to go get. I can tell the experiment is definitely annoying her more than me so far, because it's her that has to wake up every morning and take the dog out or take him out when she comes back home. Plus, it's her that has to run every errand that can't be done over the phone or online. I have to admit, this whole thing isn't so bad after all, though I'm definitely going to owe her afterwards. My mood and health seem fine, though I have to admit it does get a little bit boring just sitting inside every day, even with the internet and TV. Curious how this next week is gonna go. Day 14. After Pol Pot was deposed in Cambodia, he got sentenced to house arrest, which is kind of a weird punishment for someone who killed millions of people. It's almost like nobody could really wrap their minds around all that murder, so they just sort of said, okay, well, just stay inside your house until you die. Yet Ted Bundy got the death sentence for killing like 0.0001% that amount. What a strange world we live in. Anyways, I have no idea how Pol Pot managed to do it, especially since he had no internet. This week was boring with a capital B, and I guess I never realized just how much I take for granted. Even just things like going to the store or quick hangouts to grab a drink and coffee with a friend. I guess my mood is definitely shifting a bit, and the girlfriend confirmed that I am lacking my usual sunny disposition, though I think she was being sarcastic. I told her I needed realistic and accurate observations of how my mood may be changing, that it was important, and she just laughed at me and reminded me that I work for YouTube. Fair point. Tomorrow starts week 3, and I'm not looking forward to the boredom. Day 21. I'm pretty sure I've played through every game in my Steam library. And side note here, but when are they finally going to make an XCOM 3? The boredom is real, and I find that I'm even looking forward to taking the dog out early in the morning again, something I typically hate because I'm warm and snug in bed and I want to keep sleeping. My mood is definitely tanking, I think, and I actually find myself anxiously pacing sometimes when I'm alone. I think my body is literally dying for some basic exercise. I read up on deep vein thrombosis, and now I'm terrified because apparently blood clots can form in your veins if you don't move around enough. Sitting at my computer chair or on the couch as I so often am, I am definitely not moving much, if at all. Wouldn't that be a way to go? A blood clot forms in my leg and travels to my heart, stopping it in its tracks. R.I.P. YouTube killed him. I told the girlfriend and she didn't think it was funny at all, and for the umpteenth time told me my job was dumb. My appetite is also being weird. I've settled into just eating sandwiches most of the time. Even though I can technically have any groceries I want delivered, I just find that I don't have as much appetite, and simple ham, cheese, and salami sandwiches are perfectly fine. Girlfriend is worried about my health because salami is so high in sodium, and there's the concerns about blood pressure from a lack of sunlight already. So far, I feel okay, if just kind of generally fatigued and I guess kind of down. I mean, I wake up and there's just nothing really to do with my day. Every day is a bit like Groundhog Day, which I watched twice this last week, by the way. Next week is technically the final week, so I'll wait until day 30 for my final report. Day 30. Tomorrow I get to go back outside, and I couldn't be happier. I feel like a prisoner, kept in isolation, except at least they get an hour of exercise a day in the sunlight. I honestly never realized how much I take it for granted being outside. Even if I'm not being a super outdoors person and just popping out to walk the dog or run errands. I also realized that I probably wouldn't cut it in solitary confinement. I'd be one of those ones that goes crazy and starts talking to himself. My mood has absolutely tanked, but it's buoyed knowing that this weird experiment would end in 30 days. So I guess I didn't get the full effect of being completely isolated from the outside world. I imagine that if I went into this not knowing when it would end, my mood would definitely be far worse than it is now. And I don't doubt that depression is a very real thing for people who don't get to go outside or just choose not to. My appetite has totally tanked too, though strangely I've been finding myself drawn more and more to fatty or sugar-rich things to eat and drink. And I typically try to limit myself to 2, maybe 3 sodas a week, but this last month, I've been drinking them almost every single day. I've also been eating really sweet snacks and foods like French toast and cookies. I think my brain is literally looking for any pick-me-up it can, and so it's getting its high from sugary stuffs. I definitely noticed that I feel much better after having a soda or eating a few cookies. Unfortunately, that's definitely given me a bit of flab around the midsection, which was really surprising. Or I guess shouldn't have been really. I asked the girlfriend if she still found me sexy, and she laughed and said, "Still? She's a regular comedian." But I can't be too mad at her because she's been a champ about all of this. Now though, I have to run every errand and take the dog out for a month straight to make it up to her. Though I'm sure I'm not going to hear the end of this anytime soon. My final conclusion is that it's definitely not healthy to stay locked up inside for a month. My diet sucks, my appetite is in the trash, and I've gotten visibly unhealthier. I feel faint even at just the thought of strenuous exercise, and I'm sure that my blood pressure is putting up some pretty unhealthy numbers. I'm also absolutely stir crazy, and there's no amount of video games or movies or books in the world that could keep me cooped up inside permanently. I don't think I would cut it in solitary confinement or in an underground bunker if World War III ever kicked off. Screw it, let me outside and I'll happily die in all the radiation, or just become a ghoul and start picking off wastelanders. Hello, infographics fans! We're back with another special challenge episode where we explore the deepest questions science doesn't dare ask, and then make your favorite and most expendable writer answer them. Today we're tackling the issue of obesity once again, but now we want to know what role does food play in our instant gratification culture. To find out, we're putting our favorite guinea pig through 30 days of nothing but fast food. As usual, he'll update us on weekly progress. So strap in and stay tuned for Challenge Eat Only Fast Food for a Month, Day 1. I have to admit, I'm not looking forward to this one at all. I don't really like fast food. I mean, I used to when I was a kid, but when you start having to pay for your own food, you kinda hit a point where you think to yourself, why am I paying to eat garbage? Now it's all I'm going to have to eat for the next 30 days. And all I could say is I'm glad the pay is worth it. Naturally, the fitness freak girlfriend did not take this well at all, but I worked some of my charm on her to ease her through this one. And by worked some of my charm, what I actually mean is that after the 30 days are up, I'm going to owe her big time again. So beforehand, I did my research on what I could potentially expect. We've all seen Super Size Me, and after it came out, everyone hated fast food until it was realized that Morgan Spurlock fudged quite a bit of the quote experiment unquote for the sake of drama. I'm gonna keep it simple. I'll figure out how many calories I'm taking in and keep track of my weight, as well as mood and energy levels, etc. I'm less interested in the numbers and more on what the actual physiological effects are on me and my life. The effects of eating lots of fast food vary, but some of the scarier ones include diabetes. Apparently, that's because fast food is loaded with carbs that have almost no fiber, and when your body breaks those empty carbs down, they turn into glucose, which pumps up your blood sugar levels. To regulate, your body releases insulin. But if you do this too many times, your body can actually stop responding to the blood sugar, leading to insulin resistance or type 2 diabetes. Nothing I've found said that 30 days of nothing but fast food is nearly enough to do this though. The other major side effect is, weight gain. The American Heart Association recommends eating only 100 to 150 calories of added sugar per day, or 6 to 9 teaspoons. But a 12-ounce soda has 8 teaspoons of sugar. So kiss the rest of your daily allowance goodbye. Then of course there's added sugar in the food itself in order to make it taste good. I heard a rumor that McDonald's soaks their potatoes in a sugar water solution to enhance their flavor, but that's just a rumor.
What's not a rumor is that their fries are actually pretty amazing. There's also added trans fat in fast food, and every health website pretty much says that there's absolutely zero levels of trans fats that are healthy for you. Luckily for me, fast food is loaded with trans fat, so hooray! Then there's concerns over sodium, but that only seems to be a real issue for people with weakened hearts and blood pressure conditions, which I do not have. Although the AHA recommends that you eat no more than 2,300 milligrams of sodium per day, and a single fast food meal contains as much as half your day's worth. So basically what I'm gathering from all this research is that we need to add more hours to the day so that then one meal won't have almost all of my daily allotment of sodium, calories, and sugar. You're welcome, fast food industry. I just ended your biggest marketing nightmare. Just add more hours to the day and your meals won't have an entire day's junk limits in one sitting. I should have been a madman. Okay, so as usual, I'll update weekly. Starting weight is 165 pounds, and I confess that I exercise regularly, so my results probably aren't going to be the same as a couch potato. In fact, my fitness Nazi girlfriend has promised that she's upping our workout routine viciously because she's starting her own 30-day challenge called "I'm going to not let my boyfriend get fat and crush him physically to make sure it doesn't happen." Day 7. I've been doing some rough tabletop math just to figure out how many calories I've been taking in based off what I can find on different restaurant websites. And I'm pretty sure I'm running at about 3,000 calories a day. Well over the 2,000 a day natural limit we're supposed to be taking in. I've been hitting up McDonald's and grabbing Big Macs with fries, so that's about 1,000 calories right there. And then grabbing In-N-Out for a double-double with fries, which is about 1,100 calories. By the way, if you don't have an In-N-Out where you live, why do you even live there? It's basically the only fast food restaurant that doesn't taste like fast food, and the only place where I actually feel the money I spend is worth the food I'm getting in return. Other places like McDonald's, I typically feel I might just as well have eaten the $10 I spent, vomited the tenner back up, and then eaten the vomited $10 bill. I've also been hitting up Del Taco though, until I realized that Chipotle very much still counts as fast food, but is infinitely better. I considered Taco Bell, but then I remembered that I don't actually hate my own existence, and I like eating things that on some level are considered food. Carl's Jr. has been good to me, and honestly, I'd say their quality is definitely in the upper tier of fast food, though far below In-N-Out. Then again, being upper tier quality in fast food is like being the smartest dumb guy. You're still an idiot. Speaking of dumb guy, I was getting the Swiss chicken sandwich at Carl's Jr. thinking to myself, hey, it's chicken. This is definitely healthier than a burger. And guess what? It's 780 calories, over 200 calories more than a Big Mac. Even that doesn't compare with the half-pound mile-high bacon thick burger though, which is a whopping 1,230 calories. Okay, so I've been getting in right around 3,000 calories a day this week, and I've been skipping breakfast because every fast food breakfast is awful. I hit the scale and weighed 167, but that's definitely within natural fluctuation, so I can't say I've actually gained that much weight already. There's also the fact that the girlfriend has been running me during our exercise time like an old drill instructor, a job I suspect she is secretly loving. First week done, and I gotta say, I feel pretty normal. Day 14. I've been trying to switch it up other than just hitting the same few places over and over again. I gotta tell you, fast food really tastes the same everywhere you go, and that's predominantly awful. Thank God for In-N-Out though, and Chipotle. At least those taste like real food. I'm definitely no food snob. I've eaten way too many cold MREs in my life to ever be one. But I think if we were all honest with ourselves, we'd admit that fast food tastes good for like the first 5 bites, and after that it tastes like depression, loneliness, and suicide. My mood is definitely affected. I feel sluggish both physically and mentally. Girlfriend got called up for an acting gig that took her away for most of the week, so she hasn't been around to slave drive me into exercise oblivion, and I kinda wish she had. I tried to switch things up and added Panda Express to the mix just to get away from Mexican food and burgers. 2 servings of orange chicken and fried rice are just over 1,500 calories. How in the world did I think this would be a healthier option? I've been going to a lot of fast food places, guys, and it turns out that burgers are overwhelmingly the most healthy option. I'm at 169 pounds this week, which is definitely past normal weight fluctuation. And if I remember right, it's the high point I got to when I did the only soda for a month challenge, and it's only halfway through. Well, this is definitely not going to be the month of washboard abs. Day 21. I am legitimately dreading mealtime.
At first, it was kind of fun to eat fast food all the time, especially since I rarely get to. Then it became boring and repetitive. Spoiler alert, it all starts tasting the exact same. Then it very quickly became a mini hell. I literally feel like my blood has turned into barbecue sauce. I could probably flavor my own food just by cutting myself open. I now hate fries, and I've always loved French fries. Now I think we just need a new potato famine. I kinda wish I could go back in time to the famous Irish potato famine just so I could gloat over all those dead potatoes. Not so much the dead Irish though. This week I added Wiener Schnitzel to the mix, and then I immediately took Wiener Schnitzel out of the mix. Remember how I said that Carl's Jr. was the upper tier of fast food earlier? Well, Wiener doesn't even rank. It's just not food, period. Physically, I can't keep up with the girlfriend when we exercise anymore. She outruns me, she outboxes me. I'm on the verge of passing out while she's still warming up. I'm at 172 pounds, and that's not major weight gain, but the fast food just literally, I don't know, it weighs you down physically. It's like jamming chocolate and marshmallows into a car's engine. I feel absolutely terrible, and my mood has definitely been quite a bit darker. The girlfriend has definitely taken note of the mood change, and she's been sending me corny one-line jokes while she's still at work because she knows I love bad dad jokes. It's actually really sweet of her. Then she comes home and kicks my ass working out. Only 1 week left, and I'm seriously looking forward to this one being over. Day 30. Final weight is 174 pounds, or a 9-pound weight gain over 30 days. I have no doubts that if I hadn't been exercising as much as I do, I could have easily done some pretty high double digits. I know Morgan Spurlock fudged a lot of things in his Super Size Me doc, but honestly, a lot of the stuff he presented was spot on. Fast food kills your mood, absolutely ruins your sex drive, and destroys your energy levels. I used to breeze a 2-mile run, now I'm dying at a mile. Girlfriend celebrated the end of the challenge by going out and buying a bunch of healthy stuff to make for lunch and dinner for the next week. And I gotta tell you, after all that garbage I've been eating, seeing the rows of fresh vegetables and fruit in our fridge has kinda got me salivating. I can't say that I hate fast food now and will never eat it again. In fact, I think this challenge has helped me identify exactly which fast food I do like and which I'll never touch again, but I definitely have no desire to eat fast food for at least a year. My final verdict is this: if you're eating fast food pretty regularly and feel terrible about yourself or depressed all the time, try and stop or cut down. You'll be amazed at how much fast food is to blame for how you're feeling, or at least making bad feelings much worse. 4 weeks of 3,000 to 4,000 calories a day, especially such low nutrition calories, have absolutely wrecked me. And I can't imagine what it must do to people over the really long term. So you busted your bottom in high school and managed to score straight A's. You made sure you padded out your college applications by enrolling in every after-school program your school had available. So you played varsity football while also being the head cheerleader for your own games and captain of the chess team. All the sacrifices were worth it though, because you got a scholarship to your first pick school. But like with many college students who get scholarships, you still had to take out a huge loan to cover all the extra expenses. That's books, parking pass fees, meals, dormitory expenses, school library fees, printer fees, campus breathable oxygen fees, and fees for processing your fees. But hey, you still did it. You shunned your social life and graduated top of your class. You've done it. You've taken that first bold step in the American dream and graduated college. Now pack your bags. It's time to move back home. Because your diploma means bupkis since every employer wants previous experience anyways, and you're saddled with so much student loan payments that you technically can't even afford to be alive right now. Today, we're once more turning to your favorite infographic show staff lab rat and challenging him to live like most modern American college graduates by having him move back home for 30 days. Day 1. So I had a lot of explaining to my parents to even make this challenge possible. See, they know I'm a working writer out here in Los Angeles, and they know about many of the things I've written, including some of the things they've watched, but this whole challenge thing, well, I never really bothered to tell them. It's kind of an open secret. I didn't really hide it, but I don't really volunteer the information out either. It's never really fun explaining just how weird your job can get to people. So I had my mom and pops watch a few challenges, to which my mom immediately asked me how the girlfriend puts up with my life. She then immediately felt bad for her and ended up leaving our Skype conversation so she could call her privately and make sure that she was all right. And these challenges weren't stressing her out too much. Her, not her son, her own flesh and blood, who you know actually has to put himself or his body, or his dignity at least, on the line with each challenge, but the one who just gets to watch it happen, clearly my mom has a favorite.
My dad mostly just thought it was funny, and he really liked the eating the spiciest pepper challenge, which just so happens to have been the first official challenge episode, by the way. As far as he's concerned, my safety or comfort doesn't matter much. He just wants to make sure I'm being paid well. So long story short, they agreed to let me fly home and live there for 30 days. I'm kinda hesitant about this, to be honest. I left home at 18 and only ever went back to visit. I haven't lived with my parents in over a decade. I also really like my life out here in Los Angeles, and they just retired in a small town in Kentucky, so culture clash for sure. I hated it out there. There's just so little to do. Then there's also the freedom thing. I just enjoy having my own life, and it's going to be weird living under their roof again. I mean, I'm an adult now, so I won't even have chores or curfews or anything silly like that, but it's just weird to not be independent, even if only for 30 days. I guess I'll find out just how weird. So that's it. The girlfriend's taking me to the airport later today, and I'll be back home in time for supper. Weird. I never use the word supper. I'm already starting to feel the effects of this challenge. Oh, by the way, this isn't just a 30-day home vacation, because of course, I have many challenges to undergo during these 30 days. But you'll have to stay subscribed to find out what they are. See you guys in a week. Day 7. You should absolutely do everything you can to avoid ever moving back in with your parents. Consider that a general piece of advice. It's not really about rules or anything like that. It's just, I don't know, weird to the max to have to move back home when you're an adult. I know a lot of people don't have a choice in the matter, but if you can avoid it, you really should. If you're forced to move home because of financial situation, man, you guys are the real heroes out there. So immediately upon landing, it became obvious to me just how different things are back home versus my life in California. I'm used to densely packed urban sprawl with the trendiest and shiniest new shopping and dining venues anywhere in the world, spanning block after block, expensive cars, and people, typically women, wearing equally expensive clothing and jewelry. Back home, there's literally none of that. In a way, it's really refreshing. In another, it's sort of depressing. I'm not the flashy type at all, but my first few hours back home just really brought back how little there is to this place. One thing though, trees. Big, beautiful green trees everywhere. LA doesn't have many trees, it's a coastal desert, and you gotta drive out of town to see some pines. Here though, you've got trees of all shapes and sizes, and they're everywhere. Oh, and also parking lots. If you've never lived in Los Angeles or New York, then you probably don't understand that parking lots are God's gift to his undeserving children. Back home, it can cost you upwards of $15 just to park your car. Here, literally every place has a parking lot. It almost makes me cry, or at least my wallet. So the first night went well enough. Parents asked me how things are going, though literally the first question my mother asked when we sat down for dinner was when me and the girlfriend were getting married. She's kind of old school, and even though we've both explained it to her numerous times, she still doesn't understand, or maybe just doesn't like that we're kind of not doing that. I had to remind her that we're both completely committed to spending the rest of our lives together, maybe having kids one day, and that we don't need a big ceremony or the government to make that official. Honestly, I just think she really wants the ceremony. Hard to blame a mother. My parents are lucky enough to have hung on to the house they bought while I was still in high school, so I get to sleep in my old room, and that's a whole other level of weird. Me and the girlfriend have visited plenty of times before, but I've always insisted on staying in a hotel. Mostly because my mother is old school. She won't let us sleep together in the same bed, even though, again, we're basically married. To her, until it's official, we're not allowed to sleep together, at least not under her roof. And it's just so weird that she needs a marriage ceremony before that's okay. Staying in this room has brought back a lot of memories, but in so many ways it feels like I'm sleeping in a stranger's bed. The very last time I slept in this bed was the night before I shipped out for basic training, and even though that was like 12 years ago, it might as well have been an entire lifetime away. Mornings in your parents' house are another bit of weird. You're so used to your own routine, and then you lumber into the kitchen and find your dad already there, and it sort of hits you. This isn't your space, it's his. He's the alpha dog around here. You can't just stroll out in your underwear and make yourself some tea, although he certainly gets to, as I was unfortunate enough to find out. When I ran into him and yelled at him for being in the kitchen in his boxers, he reminded me that me and my sister moved out years ago, and if he wants to walk around in his house as naked as the day he was born, then he very well will do just that. Skipping past a very difficult readjustment period, I tried to carve out my own routine under my parents' roof. I already feel like I don't have the freedom I normally have in my own life. Even though it's not like I'm living under any kind of rules or anything, I just feel so restricted in everything I do, like I was a teenager again. Both of my parents are retired, so they're home all the time. In order to avoid going stir-crazy or having my mom drive me insane by constantly asking me about marriage or grandkids, I decided to rent a car and explore the town throughout my week. Even though it's
been over a decade, literally nothing has changed. Though, I guess I'm not surprised. All in all, this challenge is turning out to be a real bore, to be honest with you. Day 14. I Skyped with the girlfriend today, or at least I tried to. But when my mother found out, she took my iPad away from me and basically hogged it the entire night talking to her. I told you, she has a very clear favorite in this relationship, and it's not her own flesh and blood son. When they say their goodbyes, my mother brought me the tablet and very loudly said, "Such a beautiful, sweet girl. Shame nobody wants to marry her." This challenge, honestly, couldn't end fast enough. My second week under my parents' roof was much like my first. I did get some chores assigned to me, or as my dad put it, if you're gonna be living under my roof rent-free, you best pitch in around here. They have a pretty big property and a decent-sized garden where they grow their own stuff, so I mostly helped out with outdoor work. My dad tried to push me and see if, as he put it, city living's made you soft. Ha! He thinks city living with a fitness and health Nazi girlfriend makes you soft. He's got another thing coming. I've learned to not even leave my room until about 10 in the morning, which is when my dad officially decides to put on pants. My mom got on his case about it, and he protested very loudly that he bought and paid for this damn house and he'll walk around pantless if he feels like it. I guess I can't fault him. A man's home is his castle, and hey, he's had a tough life. He's earned not wearing pants until 10 a.m. if he doesn't want to. This week I went with my dad to the local VFW post. For those of you who don't know, that's a Veterans of Foreign Wars outpost that's kind of like a social club for veterans. It never really hit me until we were there that night, but we're both veterans, and both of us have the injuries that sadly typically come along with that status. The weird thing is we both got them in what's technically the same war, just at completely different times. I guess even though I know America has been at war in Iraq and Afghanistan for 2 decades, it never really hit me until that realization. I've never really liked going to any sort of veteran events or anything like that. As far as I'm concerned, it's best to let sleeping dogs lie. Walking into a room of vets, many of them wounded in ways that are far more obvious than me and my pops, it was honestly just a bad time. But there was camaraderie there that's hard to deny, and honestly something that somewhere deep in my heart I know I miss every day. You just don't make friendships in the real world the way you make them when your life is on the line. I've been mostly hanging out with my dad this week, and I'll admit it's nice to reconnect. When I visit, it's typically only for a few days at a time. Christmas is the longest stretch of time I'll ever come back home for. I guess we're both kind of gruff about it, and don't really say things like, "I missed you," to anyone other than the woman we love. But I guess I really have missed him, just not stumbling into him wearing nothing but boxer shorts at 9 a.m. Day 21. 3 weeks down, 1 week to go. Honestly, living with the parents is turning out to be so much more restrictive than I thought. Even though I'm not restricted in any way, shape, or form, I think I'm just too wildly independent for this whole experience. I am literally itching to get back to living in my own place. I spent more time with my mother this week, and she took me to a few of the social things she does throughout the week. My mom's, well, she's not like regular moms. She may be living in a small town, but she's got no small town mind. She's whip smart, has about half a dozen more college degrees than my dad, exercises vigorously, teaches her own karate class at the local YMCA, and lets my dad roar all he wants around the house like a big lion. But it's obvious to everyone that she's the one in charge. And, oh my god, I just realized why my mother and girlfriend get along so well. It all suddenly makes perfect, terrifying sense. Wow, okay, sorry, had to take a moment to process that. Anyway, one of our first trips together was to the YMCA, where she wanted me to help her teach her karate class. Now, I know my mom's super into fitness and she's done martial arts for decades, but I thought she was like teaching a class for kids. No, she doesn't teach kids. Well, I mean she does, since she teaches all ages, but she also teaches adult classes, and you know what they do in those classes? They spar. Yeah, with headgear and protective equipment, but they still physically spar against each other. And that's the story of how I ended up sparring against my own mother. Yeah, you heard that right. I had to fight my mother. Now, it's been years since my training in the military, but my mother always taught me as a kid. First Taekwondo, which she taught me for what she called the essentials, and then she skipped straight into Krav Maga because, as my 50-year-old dear sweetheart of a mother put it, anything else is for, and then she said a word we can't repeat, because infographics is a family show. Listen, I wasn't about to be the guy that put his mother into a rear naked chokehold or an arm bar until she tapped out, but I'll tell you what, she sure as hell tried to be the mother that put her son into those exact positions. We used to spar back when I was a teen, but she was in her late 30s then, and let me tell you, age hasn't done much to slow her down. I came back home with an almost black eye. She faked me out with a low kick and got me with the left jab when I dropped my hands to block her kick. My dad barely even commented on it when we got back home. He knows better. He's been on the receiving end of their sparring sessions together more than once over their many decades of marriage. I feel like I've been watching them together a lot over the last 3 weeks. And I'm suddenly aware of so many similarities between not just me and my parents and the way we act at home, but between my relationship and theirs. It's really true what they say. You typically end up with someone that reminds you of your mother. Day 31. I'm back home in LA now, and my final week of living with my parents was in many ways my most surprising. In one way, it was literally surprising. I went fishing with my dad at the start of the week, and when we got home that afternoon, I found out my mom had gone to the airport and picked up my girlfriend. Apparently, they've been in secret cahoots this entire time, and she planned that she'd come stay for the final few days. If living with your parents alone is weird, it's even weirder with your significant other. And it's even weirder when your mom herself is acting weird and not letting the woman you've been with for 6 years and committed your entire life to sleep in the same room as you. I suddenly remembered why I always insist on getting a hotel when we visit. It's the silliest damn thing in the world to not be allowed to sleep in the same bed just because we're not married. So she ended up taking the guest bedroom and I stayed in my room. Though you know what? It's real easy to sneak from one room to the other in the dead of night, and it's kind of really fun. For the first time in this whole experiment, I was actually enjoying living with my parents because sneaking her into my room late at night made me feel like a kid again. My mom and girlfriend spent most of the week together, and I spent a lot of time with my dad. There's honestly little friction between me and my parents, even after so many weeks of living back home with them. We're all just so independent that it doesn't really bother us. I feel like this experience would have been a lot harder with a different family, maybe one that's more overbearing. Then there's also the fact that I am still a functioning adult with a job, so I could afford a rental car to get away if I felt like it. People who run into financial dead ends don't really have that option. Like I said before, you guys are the real heroes here. This week was honestly kind of uneventful, except for one glaring exception. We all went out to dinner together, and me and the girlfriend got some stares. Suddenly, I remembered one of the reasons I hated growing up here in California, or even in New York. Her and I never get any attention for being a mixed-race couple, but here, well, small town sometimes means small minds. Nobody said anything, thankfully, but the stares were very obvious at times. It made her uncomfortable. She grew up in upstate New York and was definitely insulated against stuff like this as a kid. I'm very cool, calm, and collected. I don't react until somebody's words or actions actually hurt someone I love. My mother, on the other hand, let's just say she believes the best defense is a strong offense. When the stares became too much, she very loudly threatened to, and I quote, smack the googly eyes out of anyone who has a problem with my beautiful daughter-in-law. Did I mention it's a small town? Everyone knows she teaches martial arts at the local Y, and that she very much meant it. The stares pretty quickly died down after that. The same mother that threatened to publicly fight a bunch of racists became a mess of tears when it came time to leave though, although I feel obligated to point out that at the airport she did the majority of her hugging and tearful goodbying with my girlfriend instead of once more her own son. I had a few hours on the plane ride to the West Coast to reflect on this whole experience, and I definitely wouldn't recommend someone moving back home unless they absolutely had to. I guess maybe if you really miss your family you could move down the block from them, or maybe like 10 blocks away. Honestly, just try and keep it to a distance where visits are common but not too common. Be far enough away to discourage casual everyday visits is what I'm saying. Sure, it's weird living with your parents, but even if you're an adult, it just kinda seems like you slip back into an old rhythm. They end up in charge somehow, even if you are actually an adult and not a kid anymore. And while you don't have to do everything they say, you just sort of feel like you have to because you live under their roof. I kind of worry about people who never move away, or who move away late in life. Can you really become an independent person until you finally live on your own? Again though, I know this isn't an economic reality for some people, so I'm definitely not judging anyone, but it's something to consider. And speaking of things to consider, I find myself thinking back to the last few nights at home, with all 4 of us living under the same roof. Something's changed, I can feel it. Watching my mom and dad together for weeks on end, their random arguments, and just day-to-day life together. It's so obvious that this is the future I want, and I know exactly who I want to be with, because she's been at my side for the best and worst of the last 6 years of my life. Maybe my mom's incessant nagging finally got into my head, but maybe there really is something to actually being married, to publicly and officially declaring that you're in this forever together. Great. Thanks for turning my world upside down again, Infographics Show.
Hello, Infographics fans, and welcome to another special challenge episode of the Infographics Show.
Today we're taking on the obesity issue. While global stereotypes like to paint Americans as a bunch of fatties, in actuality obesity figures from around the world show that weight gain is a problem in most modern nations. The reasoning is pretty simple. A modern economy brings modern jobs, modern conveniences, and modern not-so-healthy food. Modern jobs means mostly blue-collar work for most people, which includes a lot of sitting around in the office, not getting much exercise. And when coupled with the modern conveniences of video games, on-demand video, and a billion cable channels, coupled with modern fast food or delivery right to your doorstep, this all spells disaster for expanding waistlines around the world. But what about soda? What role does it have in this modern weight epidemic? Let's find out today as we challenge your favorite guinea pig and our least important staff writer to drink only soda for a whole month. For science! Day 1. Drink only soda for an entire month. This one didn't go over well with the girlfriend at all. Like most Los Angeles actresses, she's a total health and fitness nut. And like most Los Angeles actress boyfriends, I have to partake in at least 50% of that nuttiness. I mean, I'm generally active and in decent shape anyways, but I'm not a total health freak, and I don't even know what kale tastes like, but I'm willing to bet it's terrible. Soda is, as far as I'm aware, not even allowed in our refrigerator. And even though I actually like drinking Coke, I tend to just order it at restaurants. Luckily, the girlfriend isn't a total Fourth Reich health Nazi, and she doesn't really mind, but when I told her I could only drink soda for an entire month, she got this very weird, dead look in her eyes. Then she very slowly narrowed them at me, but didn't say a word. It was terrifying. She just sort of left for work without saying anything and then texted me from the car saying, "Your job is stupid." So, as usual, I did my initial research, and it turns out drinking soda is pretty god-awful for you. So it's hard to blame her response. It destroys the enamel of your teeth, which makes it easier for your teeth to rot. It raises, then crashes your blood pressure, can lead to diabetes, and of course, is pretty much guaranteed to make you gain weight. Apparently, every 3,500 calories extra you consume per week can lead to 1 pound of weight gain, and calories definitely add up fast. I did some math and looked up the calories on average I eat per week. Thanks to California's laws, figuring out total calories of everything you eat is actually pretty easy. Turns out I'm taking in an average about 2,500 a day, mostly because of weekend meals. During the weekdays, I typically cook something pretty healthy for me and the girlfriend, but on weekends we cheat by eating out. We both exercise though, and my weight is pretty stable, so I'm guessing that the amount I exercise totals out with the average of 2,500 calories a day. But that is of course without drinking much soda at all, maybe 2 a week from eating out. Now I'm gonna have to drink only soda, not even any water, so that's for sure going to skyrocket my calories. They say you're supposed to drink about 8 12-ounce glasses of water a day to stay healthy, but that figure doesn't account for all the water you actually get from your food. So a more realistic estimate is more like 5 glasses of water a day. Assuming I did the soda equivalent to that, it would be 140 calories times 5, or an extra 700 calories per day, or 4,900 per week. Yikes! That's well over the 3,500 needed for a pound of fat. Of course, that's just calories though, which isn't the full picture because each soda, I plan on drinking Cokes by the way, includes a whopping 39 grams of sugar, or 78% of your daily allotment. That's going to majorly increase my weight gain potential, not to mention pave a pretty strong foundation for diabetes. I could just go with, say, Coke Zero, which is supposedly healthier, but A, it tastes like donkey sweat, and B, it seems more fair to go for the real stuff. So as usual, I'll update once a week and try to keep a total tally of how many sodas I drink per week, along with the total amount of calories I'm consuming and any weight gain effects. Day 1 weight is 163 pounds, svelte, sexy, and with just a little bit of love handles. Sue me. I'm not the actor in the house, and I don't need to set unrealistic physical expectations in front of the camera all the time. Love handles is what peak performance looks like, people. Deal with it. Anyways, here we go. See you in a week. Day 7. The refrigerator is stacked with red cans of Coke, all gleaming and shiny and frosty cold. I gotta admit, it's kind of beautiful in a way. I cannot stress how much the girlfriend really hates this challenge. Just for laughs, I built a Coke fortress around her vegetables, but apparently I was the only person who thought that was funny. Drinking only soda is weird. I catch myself going for some water out of thirst, and I have to remind myself, nope, get a Coke instead. I could cheat, but integrity is pretty important to me. Now, I actually really like Coke, so this challenge didn't seem all that bad, but I gotta admit that I'm getting a bit tired of the flavor. I bought lemon juice to squirt in each can in order to zing the taste up a bit, and it worked pretty well, but I think I'll try limes next just to keep the flavor from getting boring. Maybe I'll even switch to Pepsi, but if Coke Zero tastes like donkey sweat, Pepsi tastes like a donkey drinking the sweat of another donkey and then sweating the sweat out itself. This week, I've drunk 3,640 calories worth of Coke, which is just a bit more than 3 Cokes a day. I find that I'm not drinking as much Coke as I would water. I think I'm just naturally avoiding drinking as much Coke as possible. My weight's ticked up from 163 pounds to 165. Not bad and well within the natural pound or two fluctuation. I'll see how this next week pans out. Day 14. This week I drank 4,060 calories worth of Coke. Definitely a bit more than last week. The aluminum recycling is really stacking up. By the way, did you know aluminum is one of the few things worth recycling? Look it up. Anyways, my weight shot up to 168, which is definitely not an accident. It's pretty obvious soda is having a serious effect on my weight gain. Surprisingly, I'm not getting all that sick of the taste though. I mean, I do have to use lemon or lime occasionally, but it's still okay to me. Then again, I did used to eat pretty terrible MREs for months at a time in the military, so I think my palate's become pretty easy to please. On the home front, I cannot stress just how unhappy the girlfriend is with this challenge. She pinched a love handle yesterday when I got out of the shower and she just flatly said, "They're getting bigger, gross." She's also been sending me emails from work about the terrible health effects of soda and planning a crash diet for as soon as this month is up. I think every time she gets a break from filming, she's firing off a new email to warn me that I'm basically going to die because of this. Too bad for her, she's not my insurance beneficiary. Too bad for everyone that I don't have one. Crap, I should get that sorted. Day 21. So one of the effects of soda is sugar high followed by sugar crash. This is because sodas flood your circulatory system with a bunch of sugar that your body isn't ready for. In the wild, coming across a huge amount of sugar is basically not an issue our biology ever had to deal with. So now when you flood your body with concentrated sugar, your body freaks out. It immediately overproduces hormones to lower your blood sugar because it thinks that you're literally about to die, which makes your blood sugar levels drop to below normal levels, hence the crash. Turns out if you drink nothing but soda all the time, your body thinks it's under sugar attack all the time, and those crashes get really bad. I think I'm taking more naps each day now than I've ever taken before, and typically I'm off to nap every 4 to 5 hours. Luckily, I have the house to myself during the day, so it's not a big deal, but it's cutting into my productivity big time. I also kind of feel like my heart might explode, or my arteries, one or the other. I guess this is my blood pressure spiking, and I'm realizing now that I should have bought one of those blood pressure monitors if I even had any idea of how to use it. My breath is also worse. I guess that's the sugar feeding all the hungry little bacteria in your mouth, and I'm having to brush my teeth a few times each day. Although to be honest, I already was, because I don't even want to think about the plaque holocaust this soda is putting my teeth through. Turns out one of the side effects of drinking nothing but soda for a month is a very grumpy girlfriend. I know she hates it because she's concerned for my health, which is actually kinda sweet. She's already meal planned a crash diet to detox me from all this soda. I reminded her that detoxing, not a real thing, and only a trendy term that West Hollywood hipsters use to sell you overpriced health nonsense. And she took my soda out of my hand, put her finger over the hole, shook it up and, I'm not kidding about this, sprayed me with it. Then, cool as a fresh, all-organic cucumber, she just turned around and walked away. I think this soda experiment has literally broken my health nut girlfriend. Anyway, this week I drank 4,200 calories and my weight jumped up to 170, which is alarming. I realized it's not just the soda though, because it makes me so tired. I haven't been exercising nearly as much and have been skipping entire days, so all the calories from everything else I eat is adding up. Thankfully, there's only 1 week left. Day 30. I am not sad at all that this challenge is over. Drinking soda for a month straight sounds pretty alright at first, then it gets kinda meh, and then very quickly becomes a bit of a nightmare. I don't think we appreciate just how much non-soda we drink, even heavy soda drinkers. Sure, you might down a few sodas a day, but imagine drinking nothing, and I mean nothing, but soda for a month straight. Wake up in the middle of the night, thirsty? Soda. Eat something dry and need to wash it down? Soda. And by the way, washing food down with soda is pretty terrible. Thirsty after working out? Soda. Or at least try working out, because I've definitely noticed that I can't go as long or hard as I could a month ago. I don't know if it's the psychological weight of knowing that I'm basically destroying my body with all the sugar, or if it's actually making me sluggish, but I can't exercise as hard as I used to. Strength is basically fine, but anything that requires endurance, forget about it. I'm getting winded just thinking about hitting the track tomorrow on my first day back to normal. My weight is still at 173 pounds, which means that in 1 month I've gained 10 pounds. And that's while still mostly exercising. I can't imagine what my weight would be if I had drank nothing but soda and not exercised, but I honestly think I could have gained easily twice as many pounds. The constant soda makes me feel pretty terrible. I literally feel sometimes like my heart is going to beat out of my chest, and I swear my blood has become the consistency of syrup. During the course of this challenge, I've drank approximately 16,800 calories worth of soda, or 1 entire week's worth of normal caloric intake. And I know I've been pacing myself, typically drinking 3 to 4 sodas a day. The girlfriend couldn't be happier that this whole thing is over, and she's promised me a crash diet of uber-healthy pre-made meals that she's created herself until my weight gets back to normal. Challenge over. Summary: drinking nothing but soda for a month is pretty terrible for your body, kills your energy, makes you gain a bunch of weight, and really irritates your girlfriend. Those of you smart enough to subscribe to our channel have probably already seen our episodes on the recent craze sweeping men all over the world, six-pack abs courtesy of cosmetic surgery. Our deep dive into this new craze amongst men revealed some pretty disturbing things, like, for instance, the fact that men now opt for cosmetic surgery at a greater rate than women. Selfie culture seems to be taking a pretty big hit on the egos of men around the world. But what if you don't have thousands of dollars to spend on a quick surgical upgrade? Or what if you prefer to do things the more natural way? Stay tuned as we once more put your favorite and our least important staff writer through the ringer and challenge him to shape up or ship out as he does sit-ups for 90 days straight. Day 1. Well, as far as insane challenges go, I guess I should count my lucky stars that this one is pretty mild. Doing sit-ups for 90 days is probably the tamest thing that Infographics has put me through in a long time, maybe ever, and I guess I could use it. I like to stay in shape, but I have an unreasonable hatred of doing any kind of ab workout. It's exhausting on an emotional level. Like having to be the shoulder your friend cries on after the guy you warned her to never date inevitably breaks up with her. Only it's my abs doing the crying. If you followed these challenge episodes, you might remember that I also hate running, and for exactly the same reason: complete and utterly boring exercises. I know firsthand the benefits of constant sit-ups though, and used to rock a six-pack throughout my military career thanks to all the constant running and ab exercises. Seriously, the military loves making you do sit-ups. It's the weirdest thing in the world and almost on a fetish level. But you're always doing some variation of ab exercise, from sit-ups to burpees. There were daily lunges, mountain climbers, burpees, side planks, supermans, bicycle crunches, Godzilla stomps, Russian twists, and butterfly kicks. So many insane ways to torture your abs that you probably didn't realize I made one of those up. So I guess I'll be hopping in a time machine and going back in time to restart my old daily exercise routine. I stopped my normal exercising for a few weeks before this to get a better sense of how effective this would be for the sake of the challenge. So I'm looking forward to not feeling flabby and gross again, but I am not looking forward to the actual exercises. There's literally nothing more tedious than ab workouts, except maybe running. My routine will consist of the following in sets of 3: 20 butterfly kicks, 20 traditional crunches, 20 Russian twists, 20 elbow to knee crunches, 20 burpees, 20 mountain climbers. Don't expect that I'll be able to fully complete 3 sets at first, and it'll take a while. So if you're following at home and can only do one of the sets or part of one of the sets, don't sweat it. Just keep at it and note how you gradually get better and better. That kind of slow improvement is a great source of inspiration. I'll check in every 30 days, so I guess I'll see you guys in a month. Day 30. As predicted, I couldn't fulfill all 3 sets of each exercise at the start. In my regular life, I stayed pretty fit, but since I stopped exercising for a few weeks in preparation for this challenge, I definitely lost a lot of stamina and strength. I could barely crank out the first set on each exercise at first. And now, at the end of the month, I'm hitting the full 3 sets, but definitely feel like I'm about to die at the end. As far as my actual abs, well, they're definitely noticeable when I press down on my stomach, but they're not super well defined. You can see a vague shape, but I'm not rocking a noticeable six-pack. Sadly, that's gonna take a lot more work. I guess I do feel better about myself overall though. It's nice to be exercising again, and I kind of miss getting the blood pumping every morning. I've never been an exercise junkie, I just do it because I like the results and because I need to. But I don't get literal pleasure out of it the way my girlfriend does. But I think she's insane. Never fully trust anyone who says they honestly enjoy exercise. They're probably not really human. Probably some weird space alien in disguise, waiting for you to drop your guard so it can harvest your brains. See you guys in another 30, if my brain hasn't been harvested. Day 60. So, over the last 30 days, the workout routines have become a lot easier, to the point that doing the entire 3 sets of each exercise is not a problem. I'm still ending a bit winded, but I definitely feel that I could push it harder if I really wanted to. I know I talk a lot of trash about exercise, rightfully so, but honestly, getting to the point where you're doing things you could barely even start doing weeks ago does feel pretty good. There's few things in life with such clearly defined goals or moments of success as with exercise. Rarely in life do you physically see the goal you're striving towards, then realize the exact moment you've achieved it, and the moment where you're ready to push past it. As far as my body, well, you can definitely see ab muscles, and I guess I'm rocking what you'd call a 4-pack. I'm not gonna lie to you, I don't know if I'll be able to get to the 6-pack. My diet is a bit all over the place, and honestly, all the insane infographics challenges aren't helping in that regard. But more importantly, I just don't live the lifestyle I used to. Last time I had a clearly defined 6-pack, it was basically my job to work out and keep in fighting shape. And my diet was pretty well defined thanks to the chow hall and MREs out in the field. Now I definitely do a lot less cardio, spend a lot less time in 100+ degree temperatures, and eat a lot more terrible snacks. I feel like getting to an actual well-defined 6-pack is an entire lifestyle choice, and I have no interest in that. I enjoy overeating occasionally and devouring an entire pan of cheesecake once in a blue moon. I have 1 more month left to go, but I'm not confident I'll be seeing a 6-pack by the end of this. Day 90. 90-day sit-up challenge complete, and the journey was rough, then got okay, and then, I don't know, all the exercising just got to be part of my daily routine. I'm not going to pretend that exercise routines are easy, and I'll admit that if it wasn't literally my job to have committed every day to this routine, I would have taken plenty of cheat days. But as anyone following along at home knows, starting this journey is pretty damn difficult, especially when you're wheezing and gasping through the first few reps in your first set. In time though, it gets easier, and it feels pretty satisfying to see yourself pushing past your old limits. Eventually, if you stick with it long enough, it kinda becomes part of your nature. Surely, you'll take your cheat days, but I think the longer you stick with the routine, the harder it becomes to actually quit that routine, because it just starts to feel unnatural to not do it. After 90 days, my 60-day prediction held true. I'm definitely not rocking a 6-pack, but it's not because the muscles aren't there. The muscles are definitely there, but I just didn't commit to a complete diet change that would trim all the excess fat around my midsection and the belly. That's the thing about working out your abs. It's not just going to get rid of every ounce of belly fat unless you're carefully monitoring every bite of food you eat. It's called diet and exercise for a reason. I am, however, rocking a pretty nice 4-pack with some great definition, and, well, it kinda does a lot for your self-esteem. Also, the girlfriend is practically in love with it, so that's a pretty big plus. In the end, though, getting those results is a personal choice, and if you can't find a reason to want this for yourself, not what other people think about it, sticking to a workout routine like this probably isn't gonna be realistic. I really wish any of you following at home good luck, and I encourage you to stick with it. Getting in shape feels great and is great for your health. And take it from me, I know what it's like to want to quit, but don't. Keep with it and you'll see some pretty awesome results in time. Now, if you'll excuse me, I had to go buy a bunch of super douchey name brand workout clothes and take a series of really obnoxious Instagram pictures in front of a gym mirror. We all know that junk food is no good for us, and yet it remains the most popular type of food in the world. Once the bane of American waistlines who found themselves the butt of jokes around the world, now people all over the globe are experiencing their own obesity epidemic, thanks to the proliferation of fast food in their countries. Modern lifestyles have caught up with people everywhere, and long work days with short breaks typically make for quick meals, and nothing makes for a quicker meal that helps you hate a little less your soulless corporate 9-to-5 like a Big Mac and fries. It's not just fast food though that's plaguing our waistlines and eroding our health, it's other junk food items which are made to be quickly consumed, effortlessly prepared, and taste great despite having poor or little nutritional content. These are things like any number of prepackaged cakes and pastries, ready-to-eat meals that only need microwaving and are loaded with sodium and low on nutrients, and processed meats made from the more questionable parts of the animal that are pre-sliced and ready to slap between 2 pieces of bread for a quick, convenient sandwich. Of course, that bread is a problem as well, because white bread is notoriously low on nutrients, and most manufacturers use a healthy amount of sugar to sweeten the bread, especially in the United States. Modern life can be stressful, and the sad truth is that more and more people are spending less time preparing and actually eating meals than ever before. If you saw our previous episode on why you should eat slower, then you know that Americans lead the way in shortest time spent eating, averaging about 64 minutes of undistracted eating. That is time where eating is the primary activity, as opposed to eating and working. Even nations who have historically made mealtime a long, extended affair, such as Spain, have seen the time spent preparing and eating meals drop precipitously over the decades. Again, modern life and its fast-paced lifestyle is to blame, and with time spent preparing and eating food going down, most people are opting for faster-to-make meals with lower nutritional value. In Britain, though, one boy has paid dearly for his poor nutritional choices. Or, given how young he was when his trouble started, we should say that it was his parents' poor nutritional choices to blame for his condition. The parents claimed that this child was a very picky eater and would refuse any food that wasn't chips, French fries, plain white bread, and processed pork products. If you're familiar with the food pyramid, you'll quickly realize that this kid's food intake resembled less a pyramid and more a pillar, made up primarily of grains and meats. White bread, though, as we mentioned, is notoriously nutritionally deficient versus, say, wheat bread, and processed pork can have even less nutritional value than actual pork cuts, steaks, and pork chops. It's made out of the leftover pieces of the animal after those cuts have been removed from the carcass. Also, things such as bologna typically have a great deal of sodium, nitrates, and preservatives added, which, when over-ingested, can wreak havoc on your health. French fries or chips also lose much of their nutritional content when they're fried, which is why health experts encourage people to bake their French fries instead, or eat baked chips rather than traditional fried potato chips. Sadly for this young boy, his parents did none of this, and due to his refusal to eat anything but these foods, they allowed him to continue eating his diet. At age 14, he went to the doctor. For our fellow American viewers who might be unfamiliar with the term due to the extreme costs of healthcare in our nation, a doctor is a person who heals you when you're sick, and in civilized countries it doesn't cost your life savings to do so. The child complained of extreme fatigue, though his parents failed to inform the doctor of the child's diet. A year later, he returned, only this time the child was complaining of hearing loss and vision issues. Now, doctors became concerned, and they immediately tested his body only to discover that he had extremely low vitamin B12 levels. Vitamin B12 is very important for the body. It helps do a great deal of things, such as make your DNA and create red blood cells, and you must get it from animal-based foods. Apparently, the processed pork the kid was eating wasn't getting him enough vitamin B12, so the doctors put him on a series of B12 shots and gave the parents dietary advice. Sadly, the now teenager refused to follow his new diet, though he would start and try only to quit and go back to his regular diet. His vision continued to decline, and by the time he was 17 years old, he was fully blind. But then, he not only had an extreme vitamin B12 deficiency, but he was also low on copper, selenium, and vitamin D levels, along with a high zinc level and a reduced bone density, all because of his extremely poor diet. Even if he fixed his diet, though, the boy would never see again. Despite his nutritional condition, though, the teenager had a perfectly normal body mass index and had no outward signs of malnourishment. This is what makes non-fast food junk food so insidious, and the damage it causes so difficult to spot. When you can look perfectly fine on the outside, while on the inside your body is slowly breaking down because of a lack of nutrients. The teenager's poor diet had led to nutritional optic neuropathy, a condition in which a lack of nutrients begins to affect the functions of the optic nerve. Typically, though, this condition is seen in nations with starving populations or with individuals who are unable to absorb nutrients from the food they eat or have bowel issues. Due to the emergence of processed foods, though, this condition is now appearing in people who simply eat extremely restricted diets. Sadly, had the teenager changed his eating habits, even just a year before his vision went completely, he would likely have made a full recovery. After so long of terrible nutrition, the optic nerve had degenerated enough to permanently blind him. His hearing had also been affected, and there's concern that the damage the brain had suffered may manifest with mental illness later in life. Parents of the teenager today report that he suffers from extreme depression due to his condition and has dropped out of college. His mother has had to quit her job to become a full-time caretaker, and though they try to improve his diet, he still refuses to eat better food. While the story is typically reported along with images of fast food, it's important to note that it was not fast food that harmed this teenager. In fact, fast food would have probably been healthier than what he was eating, aside from the weight gain issues. Instead, it was the extremely restricted nature of his diet, helped along with the fact that not only was he eating a very narrow list of foods, but those foods happened to be extremely processed, which further reduced their nutritional value. What this means is that no, you yourself aren't going to go blind just from eating fast food or processed foods, and only run the risk if you too adopt such an aggressively limited diet. Researchers now believe, however, that the teenager in question actually suffered from a psychological condition known as Avoidant Restrictive Food Intake Disorder, or ARFID. A relatively newly diagnosed mental disorder, ARFID was only added to the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders in 2013. Individuals affected are more than just picky eaters, and that term only serves to imply that the individual is poorly disciplined or spoiled by caretakers. Instead, people with ARFID actively avoid some or many food items because of severe anxiety that they suffer when eating them. Sometimes individuals may even experience extreme emotional discomfort related to the actual texture of the food. When attempting to eat one of these unwanted foods, individuals experience gagging and vomiting, which only reinforces the desire to stay away from these foods. Some individuals even experience intense fears of actually choking to death if they were to consume the foods they fear. Psychologically unable to eat anything outside of their extremely restricted diet, individuals with ARFID can quickly become malnourished. This British teenager, however, was a rather extreme case, and most people have only a small or moderate list of foods they cannot eat. Psychologists still don't understand what triggers conditions like ARFID, but much like anorexia or other eating disorders, this condition can be improved with professional help. Sadly for the British child in this story, his condition was missed, likely by an understandable lack of knowledge of the condition, and his fate was sealed. Still, with their child's health steadily decreasing, it begs the question why his parents didn't seek out other professional help. When traditional medical help wasn't resolving the issue, in the end, we should carefully balance how much junk food we eat. But unless you're eating such an extremely limited diet, you're not in danger of going blind anytime soon. For thousands of years, mankind was unable to recognize the color blue due to it appearing so rarely in nature. On the grasslands of the savanna, the plains of Europe, and the steppes of Asia, the color blue appears extremely infrequently amongst natural fauna or wildlife. And because we evolved to identify edible plants and animals, our brains ignored the color blue in the few places it did appear. For an untold amount of time, humans were simply oblivious to the color blue, and ancient writers such as the Greek even referred to the ocean as wine-tinted purple rather than the beautiful blue of the Mediterranean Sea. This inability to see blue still occurs in a few isolated African tribes that live on the savanna, and when shown the color blue on a color wheel, they're completely unable to identify it since their brains don't have the idea of blue wired in. Yet they're able to identify dozens of different shades of yellow that we ourselves are blind to. It's a crazy mixed up world of color out there, and while seeing or not seeing blue is fine and dandy, what about eating it? Once more, we turn to your favorite experimental guinea pig, which, after the dozens of comments we're forced to publicly state, is a term of endearment. Just don't tell him that. If he feels more important to the show, he's going to start demanding higher pay. Now stay tuned as we challenge him to eat only blue foods for 72 hours, because our brainstormers were really bored. For scientific reasons. Day 1. Well, this should make for interesting poop, was the very first thing that popped into my head upon reading my next assignment from the infographic show. The very next thought was, where the hell do I buy blue food? What blue foods even exist? I guess it's a good thing they provided a healthy shopping stipend for this episode. I did some research online and it turns out that there are some naturally occurring blue food items, though definitely not very many. Blueberries immediately spring to mind, and it's a good thing I happen to like blueberries because I'm going to be eating a lot of them. There's also apparently a fish called the lingcod that's naturally blue, though it can be hard to find. Shouldn't be an issue for a city as big as Los Angeles, though, to score one of these fish. Although I am not looking forward to it because outside of survival challenges, I really don't like eating fish at all. It's all, well, fishy. I believe it was the great and underrated comedian Jim Gaffigan who joked, "How can you tell when a fish has gone bad? It smells like fish." I did find a ton of recipes to just turn your food blue, but that sounds like cheating, so I won't be doing that. From my research, though, it does kind of look like I'm going to be pretty restricted to what I can actually eat. There's blue potatoes, which apparently have an earthier taste than regular potatoes. I guess people don't like their potatoes looking kind of gross blue, and so they're not very popular, but they do exist. Then there's also blue carrots, which, by the way, is the color all carrots used to be until the Dutch decided to grow only orange carrots in support of William of Orange, and the new look just kind of stuck. Yes, we did do an episode on this, why carrots are orange, because we do episodes on everything, including including apparently eating only blue foods. There's also blue corn, which was popular with the Native Americans until betraying and killing Native Americans became itself popular with the Europeans. You are still able to find blue corn though, because mankind loves novelty enough to keep certain species from going extinct. Sorry rhinos, we love money more than you. There are also bilberries, which I feel is sort of cheating but is apparently a European cousin of the blueberry. Luckily, once more I'm in a major city, so finding them shouldn't be a problem. Concord grapes are apparently considered blue, although to me they look more purple, but you know what? If they're going to increase my food variety, I'll take it because right now it's looking like fish and blueberries for 3 days straight. And honestly, that's kind of it. At least foods that wouldn't require being flown in from the most remote parts of the world. These things are so niche, like a certain kind of mushroom that grows in only a certain part of Japan, that they cost an arm and a leg. If I presented an expense report for a crate of those things to infographics, I'm pretty sure someone there would have an immediate heart attack. Okay, well, it's time to go shopping. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Day 2. Alright, so I said that I would stay away from food dyes, but I never said that I wouldn't eat foods that had been pre-dyed. After all, I could simply buy some food dye and marinate a big juicy T-bone steak in it. Also, sorry, it turns out there's like so few naturally blue foods that all I would end up eating really is fish and berries, and I'm not a grizzly bear putting on fat for the winter. I need variety. So I went shopping yesterday, and I should call it hunting more than shopping. I had to cover at least half of the city to find blue potatoes, bilberries, blue carrots, and ling cod. Which, by the way, I was unable to find filleted and actually had to buy a whole fish. Try and imagine how well that went down with a girlfriend when she came home and found a 20-pound, 3-foot-long fish sitting on the counter. Oh, and fish guts were everywhere because I'd been trying to fillet the damn thing for 15 minutes before she got there. Also, apparently, not all ling cod actually have blue flesh, but I got lucky and mine had, well, not truly blue flesh, but I guess it's more blue-greenish. Their guts are about as red as any other fish's though, and the girlfriend made me swear to disinfect the entire kitchen when I was done. Also, we are temporarily not on speaking terms because I chased her out of the house with a handful of fish guts. So, fish has been on the menu, which I prepared alongside of some blue carrots. Honestly, the fish tastes like fish, and other than being a bit earthier and maybe tangier than normal carrots, the blue carrots tasted exactly like normal carrots. What an earth-shattering discovery. Glad infographics insisted on confusing my digestive system for 3 days with this silly challenge. I did have a helping of pudding that happened to be colored blue. Listen, I know that milk, eggs, and, well, to be honest, I don't know what goes into making pudding, but I know these things aren't naturally blue. But like I said, it's not my fault that nobody at the show specified I had to eat naturally blue foods only. Also, fish is terrible and pudding makes me happy, which is a feeling I need after eating blue-green fish for 2 days. The color doesn't help with the smell, and the idea that you can't really tell when the fish has gone bad, but when you cook the flesh, the color goes away and it's just normal white. That's kind of disappointing, to be honest. I thought it'd at least be fun to eat blue fish flesh. I guess I could make it into sashimi, but literally every blog and website I found on the matter said do not risk this. The ling cod is apparently not a great fish for sushi or sashimi because of parasites. Parasites which I realized were simply being cooked to death and then I would eat. Extra protein, I guess, but yet another reason to never eat fish if you can help it. Day 3. It is really hard to eat only blue foods. I mean, you can find plenty of artificially colored blue junk foods in the supermarket, but if you don't want to gain 30 pounds overnight, which I don't, then trying to eat even remotely normal and eat only blue foods is a hell of a task. I couldn't stomach fish anymore, so instead I switched to potatoes, carrots, bilberries, and blueberries. The blueberries and bilberries I made into a jam by smooshing them, adding some sugar and corn syrup and letting it sit overnight. In the morning it made for a pretty delicious breakfast, and even the girlfriend enjoyed it until I told her that I also put blue fish in it. She looked very much like she was going to vomit on the spot until I told her I was only joking. But given the very weird nature of my challenges, I'm not sure she believed me completely. She's thus decreed that from now on, whenever I'm doing a quote, stupid challenge, end quote, our food is going to be strictly segregated. The bilberries taste more tart to me than blueberries, and they are definitely not my favorite. Probably explains why they're not as popular as their blueberry cousins. Can't say they were very noticeable on their own when made into the jam though, but if you eat them individually, you can definitely taste it. For lunch, I made myself a giant heaping serving of blue French fries. Now, if you're a fan of our challenge series, then you know that I'm myself a huge fan of French fries. But to be honest, blue French fries are just gross. They taste completely normal, but you can't get it out of your head as you're eating them how unnatural they seem. I guess we associate the color blue with colors of rot and decay. It's the color of a rotting corpse after all, and so it can be hard to swallow blue foods that aren't things like berries. Even the oven-baked blue carrots I had for dinner alongside more stupid blue fish were hard to eat. It turns out that the color really does affect our appetite and our feelings about what we eat, which is why I guess we prefer brightly colored food items. They just seem healthier to our brain because they don't have the same colors that rotting food does, and trying to swallow a bunch of blue fries down without thinking about them being rotten and disgusting is pretty difficult. I honestly think that this is the only observation I have from this whole 3-day experiment, along with the fact that I don't think I want to touch fish again for a few months, because out of all the food across the earth, fish really is just the worst, unless it's made into sushi. And that's weird, right? I'd rather eat raw fish rather than cooked fish, which I find disgusting. Welcome to my topsy-turvy life. So, should you only eat blue foods? Definitely not. The diet is pretty restrictive and you're mostly going to be left with boring old fish, like 2 vegetables and 2 types of fruit. I guess if you went ahead and cheated with blue-colored food that's man-made, you might be able to get away with it for a while. Then you can include all kinds of pudding, yogurt, and jello into the mix, along with various types of cake. Although fair warning, blue-colored cakes are typically gross. Not that cake itself is gross, because it's just colored bread, really, but for some reason, blue-colored cakes are always topped with weird things like fruits or jelly beans. The biggest risk from eating blue-only foods, though, is the lack of nutritionary variety. If you're a subscriber to our show, and really, why wouldn't you be, then you probably saw our episode on the British kid who lost his eyesight from eating nothing but junk food. Go check it out. It's called Teen is Blinded by Junk Food. Whether you saw it then or are going to watch it now, you'll know or are about to find out that overly restrictive diets can seriously harm you over a long course of time. Limiting yourself to only blue foods will eventually starve your body of much needed nutrients and minerals. And much like our British kid in the junk food episode, you can suffer serious harm, to include loss of vision and even deafness. So I'm going to go back to my normal life of eating a rainbow of regular foods, though I'll have to work through the 4 12-packs of blue pudding I bought because I desperately needed something other than fish and fruit. As you might have learned by now watching these challenge episodes, impulse control is not my strong point. What is sexier and more useful than a thong? From exotic dancers to people not wanting to show underwear lines, the thong is there to titillate and aid in keeping you from embarrassing yourself in public. But what's it like to actually wear a thong? Well, we could have simply asked literally any female in the world, but we thought it'd be really funny. We needed a scientific investigation into the pros and cons of this underwear choice. So once more, we turn to your favorite guinea pig as we task him with wearing man thongs for a whole week. Day 1. Is anybody in our audience old enough to remember the Thong song? Just curious. Cisco. Because that's been stuck in my head now since I first opened the email with this challenge. Wearing man thongs for a week, well, I've already went commando, so honestly, what could be so hard about this? Well, turns out I have to go buy them first, because of course Infographics isn't going to spare a single ounce of potential humiliation if they can't help it. Oh, and I also have to go to a public pool and try out the swim style too, because apparently that's important to the thesis of this challenge. They literally wrote that in the assignment email that they needed to, and I quote, understand how thongs operate in an underwater environment. Right. It has nothing to do with the public humiliation. Well, the one person who's got no problem with the challenge is the girlfriend, who's been looking at me with this weird half-smile, half-daydreaming look on her face since I told her about the challenge. I asked her what was going on, and she finally kind of blushed a little bit and said, I don't know, I think I'm kind of turned on by this whole idea. I blame that male stripper movie. What was it called? Oh yeah, Magic Mike. She never saw it. We don't do anything that could take the intimacy focus away from each other, and honestly, we never really need to. But I think she really likes the idea because, well, she's had me strip for her on more than one occasion. Hey, when you're with someone long enough, you have to put effort into your romantic life and keep it exciting for both of you. So now she's apparently kind of really excited about me having to wear these for a whole week. If this turns into a whole role-playing thing and ends with me getting a job at a male strip club, I'm gonna be calling it quits on this whole challenge thing. The rules are simple. Buy man thongs, wear man thongs, 24 hours a day for a full week. I'm not sure what to expect. I've never worn anything similar before, honestly. It kind of seems like thongs would just give you a permanent wedgie and you'd have that uncomfortable feeling all day long. I guess I'll be finding out. See you guys in 3 days. Day 3. The first thing I had to do was go actually buy me a thong, and it turns out you really can't just go anywhere and buy a thong for men. I went to Target at first and, well, they didn't carry any, though the girl I asked for help in finding them gave me a very odd look for a moment after I asked her. I went to another chain store and same luck. Finally, I texted the girlfriend for help in finding somewhere, and I could practically feel her rolling her eyes through the text message. She told me go to an adult clothing shop. In hindsight, that's kind of obvious. I asked her to come with me because I felt it'd be really weird going into a place like that on my own, and I guess I thought it would be less weird if I went in there with my significant other. She agreed, and an hour later we were both in a small boutique shop. That's the great thing about Los Angeles, you can find literally anything here. The store was run by an older woman who was super friendly to us as soon as we walked in, and then immediately started asking us about ourselves. She told us she'd been married for over 20 years, and then went into way too much detail about their love life and why she opened up the store. Then she looked the girlfriend up and down and said something along the lines of, "Ooh, you're a hot mama. Have I got some things for you to wear that'll put him on his knees?" That's when I had to explain that we were actually here for me, and she sort of looked me up and down and said, "Oh well, good for you, honey. You know, most men don't even put any effort into it." Did I mention how overly friendly this woman was? Well, I told her I was looking for thongs for men, and she showed me to an astonishingly large selection of them. And let me tell you, I'm a pretty confident guy. I exercise regularly and watch what I eat, but man, I was immediately intimidated thinking about having to walk around in one of these things. I feel like for a man to confidently walk into a store and buy a male thong, he either has to be European or a male stripper. Well, I selected 3, although the girlfriend maybe put back a kilt thong and told me not to be ridiculous. Yes, a kilt thong, as in a tiny little kilt that was also a thong. I'm not making this stuff up. I went into the changing room with my 3 thongs and slipped the first one on. Honestly, I wasn't even sure what it was supposed to feel like. What would be a good fit, so to speak. What I do know is that I turned around to look at myself in the mirror and realized something. There were no mirrors in the changing stalls. There's only one mirror, and it's outside, in the small hallway where all the stalls are at, and which is wide open to the rest of the store. That seems like poor design choices in my opinion. So I slid out of my stall, hoping the store didn't immediately become packed with people while I was in my stall, and I ran straight into another guy. Like, we literally ran into each other and touched chest to chest, and well, other parts too. I guess his girlfriend or wife or whatever was in another stall, and he was going to check on her or something when I came out of my stall, and we ran into each other. Hey, you know what the most uncomfortable thing is in the world? Making chest to chest contact with another guy when all you're wearing is a 0.5 millimeter of fabric wrapped around your package. I think I saw him die a little inside when I looked into his eyes. I know I certainly did. He hurriedly shuffled past me, mumbling an apology. Oh man, this is gonna be a hell of a week. So the girlfriend was waiting by the mirror along with the shopkeeper for some strange reason. Somehow she'd become part of our shopping experience, as if she didn't have a store to run. The girlfriend's eyes immediately went wide and then she started laughing, but then she kind of quieted down and bit her lower lip. The shopkeeper looked at her and winked at me and said, "I think she likes it." I looked in the mirror and, well, you'd seriously better have some good body image if you're thinking of wearing a thong, because those things leave nothing to the imagination. Also, they're drafty, to say the least. Like I was there on full display, keeping almost no secrets from any prying eyes. I decided I really didn't need to know what they looked like on me and rushed back into the stall. The challenge was officially on, so I just wore it out under my jeans and ripped out the tags so they could be rung up. The shopkeeper was nice enough to recommend a swimming set, but she warned us that some public beaches forbade the wear of thongs for men or women. No mention of public pools though. So I've been wearing these things for 2 days now, and well, it feels strange, to say the least. Before I even went to try one on, I realized that these things are so tiny that I'd have to, well, manscape, if you will. Only turns out you have to manscape like a lot. Basically, unless you want to look like a gorilla in a Speedo, you have to weed whack almost everything away. That left my skin extremely sensitive, and well, the material is really soft, and the feeling of it on your skin can sometimes be kinda nice. I didn't mind that much. What I did mind is the tendency that thongs have to ride up on you. More than once, my thong ended up poking out the top of my jeans and I'd catch people staring. Once, it happened in front of a lady and her small kid while we were waiting in line at Panda Express. And I'm pretty sure that this lady now thinks I'm some sort of deviant because she quickly moved her child to the opposite side of her body, away from me. Oh, I very quickly forgot about bending over to pick things up. Instead, I bend at the knees now for everything, which is kinda really weird to see a guy do. But you know, I don't want to keep looking like a tramp in public. That's half of my week's worth of observations. See you guys at the end. Day 7. Who knew wearing man thongs would be such a journey? One of the things I regularly do is go to the gym and do laps in the pool. It really helps with my back and my leg injuries from my service years, and keeps me from getting really sore. If you've been watching our show for a while, then you already know that going commando is nothing new for me. I occasionally do it, and you know what? If you show up at the gym changing room and you drop your pants and aren't wearing underwear, it's literally no big deal. There's tons of naked dudes in a men's locker room. It's the most natural thing in the world. Dropping your pants and revealing you're wearing a thong, though, now that gets attention. And it's not very comfortable attention, it's just not normal. Also, and I didn't expect this at all, I kind of felt extremely self-conscious, which is weird because I just mentioned that at least once a week I drop trousers in front of several dozen men and shower off in a big shower room full of them. Being naked is honestly not a big deal for me, but being in a thong? Well, that was different. Wearing a thong is like making a statement, and my uncomfortable feeling came from a nagging question in the back of my mind, which I couldn't help but ask myself, can I pull this thing off? I feel like when you're wearing a man thong, you're saying to the world, look at me, I have the body to do this. Am I the only one that thinks this way? Like I said before, I'm in good shape, but I'm definitely not like the male models and catalogs that actually sell these things. I guess this is what it feels like to be a modern woman. Wow. I'm so sorry, ladies. Well, if it was weird to drop my pants and show to the locker room that I was wearing thongs, it was even weirder then to switch into thong swimming bottoms. How can I explain them? Well, imagine you have the tiniest sack in the world and you have to stuff all yourself into that sack, and then the tiniest bits of string stretches around your waist to keep the whole thing from falling off. That was my bathing suit. I think I was 99.99% bare flesh. Nothing, and I mean nothing, was left to the imagination. Not knowing if I'd get kicked out or not, I strutted out to the pool and waited for a lane to be clear so I could hop in and do my laps. Lucky me, the place was pretty decently packed. Although since it's a gym, there were no kids around. Pretty sure at this point I could have been arrested as a sex criminal if there had been a minor in that gym. Nobody stared at me more than the head lifeguard on duty. It was like he was trying to figure out if there was any sort of regulation against my swimwear. Obviously, you're not allowed to swim naked, that's against regulation. But how much of a difference is there between naked and a few inches worth of cloth I was physically wearing? In the end, none of the lifeguards said anything, and I was happy to get in the water and get my shrink-wrapped plums out of the line of sight of several dozen eyeballs. When I tell you that this left nothing to the imagination, I mean it. Although, as I was doing my laps, I had to admit, it feels so much better swimming this way. It felt so free, like I was just me in the water and nothing between me and the sweet caress of Mother Nature. I felt like a dolphin just sliding through the water effortlessly. No friction, like a hot knife through butter. This is the way a man was meant to swim. Then, I climbed out of the pool and I realized why I had been feeling so free. My thong had slipped completely off and was floating somewhere in the middle of the pool. I stood there, my captain's mast on full display to men and women of all ages, and the next thing I remember is like 4 lifeguards' whistles blowing at the same time, and the nearest lifeguard throwing her towel on me and yelling at me to get out. And that's the story of how I'll never be returning to that gym ever again. Thanks, infographics. Alright, so other than marking yet another public place off the list of places I'm allowed to show my face at, how was my week wearing man thongs? Honestly, you kinda get used to it. The string up my cheeks really bothered me for a while, and then I kinda just got used to it. It really just sort of fades from your mind, although it does make you strangely sensitive to stimuli like the fabric of your jeans rubbing against the fabric of your thong in the front. Also, it turned the girlfriend into a total hornball. I don't think either of us knew about this secret fixation she apparently has with man thongs, but even though I won't be wearing them voluntarily ever again, and definitely not for swimming, I'm also going to hang on to them for, special events. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm pretty sure that the girlfriend is about to ask me to sign up for male stripping lessons. Hey there, challenge fans. It may still be quarantine season across most of the world, but we found ways to explore more of the world's mysteries with your favorite lab rat. We've been concerned with the toll sitting at home all day has had on the health of everyone's favorite guinea pig, so we're tasking him with keeping his physical fitness up with 30 days of running. What kind of impact will this have on your health? Is it a good way to lose weight? Stay tuned and find out. Day 1. Running. I hate running. I believe I've famously made that opinion quite clear, and so naturally Infographics decides that now I'll have to do it every day for 30 days. Honestly, I should have just kept my mouth shut. I guess the quarantine has seriously sapped the creativity of the Infographics team. How many challenges can you really do while stuck at home? Alright, we all know that running is healthy. Basically, everyone recommends it as a way to lose weight, boost your stamina, and get in shape. I've done plenty of running in my time. I spent years doing it in the military, and I feel like I've fulfilled my running quota for life. So while the girlfriend goes running every morning 5 days a week, I skip the cardio most of the time. Not anymore though, and nobody's happier about me picking up a serious running habit than the girlfriend, who is constantly pushing me to join her. Congrats, babe. Wish granted. Oh, I've heard that running barefoot like our ancestors is much better for your health, so stay tuned for week 4 when I try that out. Alright, I'll start off easy at a mile a day, then gradually tack on more and more distance as I feel that my stamina increases. I hate to admit it, but I really have been kind of sitting on my butt during this whole quarantine, so I'm a pretty good test subject for this. My physical fitness has definitely been lacking. So just how good is running really for your health? Let's find out. End of week 1. The thought of waking up early and running was dreadful, so I decided I would not be joining the girlfriend for her morning runs. And on the first day, I put it off until about noon. That proved to be a mistake, since summer is officially here and LA is really heating up. The next day, I fixed that mistake and gladly woke up early to run with the girlfriend at about 6 a.m. You know what I hate about running? It's the most boring exercise you can do. I mean, it's not like lifting weights is super entertaining, but you only have to do it for really short amounts of time. Unlike running, where you spend 20 or 30 minutes just running. Maybe if they could make a VR app where you're being chased by terrorists or Bigfoot, now that can make running exciting and maybe a little fun. Also probably terrifying. But seriously, if anyone out there makes VR apps, you know that running away from Bigfoot app would be a gold mine. Get on it. Alright, other than boring, running is absolutely exhausting, and I truly do hate it from the bottom of my heart. The girlfriend always talks about a runner's high, and I think she's just a regular old high because I've never so much as experienced a single moment of joy while running. I've been starting with a modest goal of running a mile, and that's good too because I'm practically ready to vomit by the time I get to the mile mark. I didn't even bother to time myself. No point in embarrassing myself further. I used to run like a 6-minute mile when I was in the military, but I was also in far greater shape. One thing I do miss though is singing cadences while running in formation. It's weird how your brain kind of gets lulled into this sense of hypnosis when you're with a group and singing cadences as you push yourself from your 4th to 5th straight mile of running, of course with a ruck full of rocks and sandbags. Oh, by the way, that's a great way to get back problems later in life. Believe that. So after a week of running, I decided to weigh myself and discovered I'd lost 2 pounds. Not bad for really not having changed my diet at all. I'd put on a little, plush during quarantine, and the girlfriend's been having fun poking at it. So I'm looking forward into getting back into normal shape. I guess I really have been lacing it up while everyone's stuck at home. See you guys at the end of week 2. End of week 2. I've started listening to military cadences on my headphones as I run, though I've kept myself from actually yelling them out and making everyone around me think I'm crazy. What is crazy though is I kinda miss the old days, and that's something I never thought I'd say. The cadences really help, though I don't know what help they would be for you if you've never been in the situation for real. I think you need to feel that sense of camaraderie and shared anguish to really get it, but I could be wrong. If running is as boring to you as it is to me, maybe try it out. Like I said, the rhythm of the cadences really does lull you into a weird hypnosis, and you just sort of keep running despite how tired you are. I really surprised myself. After my first week, I was able to bump it up to 1.5 miles. But after only 2 days, it was clear I could go a lot further and just jumped straight up to 2 miles. The girlfriend says that it's muscle memory from my old days, but I'm not so sure that's scientific. She claims that when she is involved in a really long production and doesn't have time to exercise regularly, she can bounce back really fast thanks to muscle memory. I just think she has great genes. I told her that and then followed it up with, and what's inside them ain't bad either, and smacked her on her blue jeans covered butt, and she punched me in the arm, really hard, because we were in public. Alright, other than nursing a bruised bicep, I've been hitting the running track every day this week and it's gotten a lot easier. I think that's the way with any exercise though. Once you get over the initial hump, it smooths out and exercise gets so much easier to do and to want to do. So hey, I know that there's some of you watching this right now that are dealing with that hump. Just do it. Force yourself to do it. Push yourself for 2 to 3 weeks and I promise you'll see the results and you'll realize you're over the hump. Don't quit. I believe in you. I lost another 3 pounds this week, and again, that's without any special diet changes, literally just running. I imagine that if I was overweight and trying to lose weight with diet and exercise, the pounds would really be coming off. I guess I can't deny running is a great exercise for losing weight. End of week 3. I don't know if I've yet to discover this runner's high that the girlfriend speaks of, but I definitely have gotten to like pushing myself further and further. I decided that the running track was too boring, going around in circles was driving me nuts, so I instead jogged over to the beach and thought I'd run along in the sand. Thing is, I forgot how hard it is to run in sand, so I very quickly went back to running along the street next to the beach. On the first day of this third week, I decided I'd push myself to see where my limits currently are, and I used my phone to track myself. Running on the street was much better than running stupid circles at the track and a lot more entertaining. I was shocked to discover I had run nearly 5 miles before reaching what I'd call the absolutely breaking down, can't take another step status. Of course, it was shortly thereafter that I realized I would have to either run or walk back those exact same 5 miles because I wasn't on a track anymore. Instead, I called an Uber, and I'm pretty sure my driver knew exactly what had just gone down. So, pushing myself to my limits proved to be a terrible idea, as I so often discover long after the deed is done. My legs cramped hardcore. I'm talking Charlie horses on Charlie horses, and if there's a more painful type of muscle cramp, please let me know in the comments. Except, of course, period pains. That's right, ladies, I got you back. Hashtag lady pains. You know what though, I'm glad I pushed myself to the brink. Sometimes you just have to push yourself as hard as you can and find out exactly where your limits are. Running the next day, however, after those severe muscle cramps was bad news, and I only managed a half mile. I needed time to rest, but I needed to keep up the challenge, so that day and the next I kept it to half a mile. Then settled into a 3-mile run. That's pretty close to the 3.5 miles to 4 miles my girlfriend runs every day, so I'm catching up and it only took 3 weeks. Kinda proud of myself. I lost another 1.5 pounds and I think my weight loss is slowing down because I was never overweight to begin with. I don't really think there's much more left to lose that isn't, well, normal. End of week 4. Challenge complete. 4 weeks of running every day in the bag. I did some rough math and I think I ended up running something like 80 miles this month. That's like a third of the way from LA to Vegas. My leg muscles are hard as steel rods and my calves are absolutely popping like a soccer player. The girlfriend definitely likes that. I think it's weird how girls are attracted to calf muscles, but they really are. Go figure. For this week I settled into a 4-mile run, and while it never got fun, it definitely got easier. I think the hardest part is just telling your brain to shut up, it's time to run, and the sooner you do it, the sooner it's over. I don't know about any runner's high, I think that's just a myth, though the girlfriend swears by it. I do have to admit it feels nice after the run. You feel good about yourself and your life choices, beats sitting on the couch doing nothing by a long shot. I did try something new this week though, I ran barefoot. I've always been curious about doing it, and it's long had a sort of weird appeal for me ever since I found out about the Tarahumara Indians from Mexico. These guys can run for dozens of miles at a time, apparently even for hundreds of miles, and they do it completely barefoot or with very basic sandals on. I did more research on it and it turns out that most modern shoes are actually really bad for running in. Even those super expensive ones that Nike and Adidas charge you $100 for. All that artificial padding and other crap really severely affects the way your foot and leg muscles interact with the ground, while having just a plain old sandal or just barefoot can make running safer by avoiding injury and make it have less impact on your body. Turns out that nature finally tuned our feet for running over millions of years, and over the course of like a century we thought we could do a better job. Talk about human arrogance. Alright, so you know what? I kind of liked running barefoot. The difference wasn't immediately obvious, and yes, it did hurt running along the street barefoot. Luckily, we live in a very nice neighborhood next to the beach, so our streets aren't littered with broken glass and other crap, and traffic is light, but there's still plenty of rocks and pebbles to step on. But if you can weather it, you can learn to ignore it, just like our ancestors did in the bush when they chased down prey. By my 3rd day of doing it, I barely even noticed it anymore, though the girlfriend was very concerned about ringworm and made me scrub my feet thoroughly every time I returned. That's a good idea. Your feet get crazy dirty. It's hard to explain. While running barefoot may give you funny looks, it just feels better, more natural, and I noticed I was a lot less sore afterwards. I honestly think there's something to the science of running barefoot, and I'd recommend you try it even if it's just on a track. So how's my month of running been? Well, I lost a good amount of weight and I'm in pretty good shape. Hard to argue with the results, really. All that quarantine flab is gone and my stamina is through the roof. I have to say, I hate it a little less than I used to, but I don't really think I'll be making it a daily routine anymore now that I don't have to. However, I kind of think I'm gonna do it maybe 3 or 4 times a week, and all of it barefoot. Like I said earlier, the hardest part about any exercise is just getting over that hump. You gotta dig deep and just push through it, but I promise you can get on the other side of it and nothing feels better when you start seeing results. So if you're just watching and thinking of starting an exercise routine or struggling to maintain one, just push as hard as you can and take it day by day. I promise after a few weeks you'll start to see results and then it kind of becomes an addiction. And if you're doing this running challenge, please email us and let us know how it went. I love hearing all your guys' stories about self-improvement. For now, I'll catch you guys in the next challenge. Numerous studies have shown that rich people tend to have better or more positive habits than poor people, and in some areas the difference is so statistically significant that we can't help but wonder what impact changing your habits could have on your life. Could eating better food and setting goals for yourself really get you from reading Word Up magazine to having Salt and Pepper and Heavy D in the limousine? Once more, we're turning to our favorite lab rat and really hoping that this challenge doesn't somehow place him out of our price point for insane challenges. In our new challenge episode, try rich people habits for a month. Day 1. Typically, infographics challenges involve some level of danger or health hazard, so try and imagine how surprised I was to discover that the latest challenge is actually something to potentially improve my life. Makes me deeply suspicious. But I read and reread the challenge outline and yeah, seems pretty legit. All I have to do is basically change my personal habits to those of a rich person for a month and see how that changes things. The girlfriend is pretty excited about this one. She's all about self-improvement, so anything that's about building yourself up and making yourself better or getting healthier, she's all gung-ho for. Honestly, she's probably the reason why I'll live past 40. So I did some research to discover which habits I'll need to amend, and these are the big ones I saw as things wealthy people do that most of the rest of us don't. Number 1. No eating junk food. Though recent studies into the issue show wealthy Americans eat more junk food than we've been led to believe, I'm going to limit myself to a weekly average of 300 calories a day. I'm not sure you can go to any fast food restaurant in the world and get one meal that's under 300 calories. Pretty sure that the smell of French fries alone is like 250 calories. So I'm guessing that this is data collected over an entire week's worth of eating. That seems reasonable, I guess. With the girlfriend being the Heimlich Himmler of modern health Nazism, I don't get to eat that much junk food anyway. This won't be a difficult habit to stick to, though when I was single, it would have been a different story. Number 2. Goals. Rich people have goals and stick to them, working toward them with all due diligence. Apparently 80% of wealthy people do this and only 12% of the poor do it. I guess that makes sense. You're not going to become CEO if you don't have goals. This one might be harder for me to adopt because I tend to be very free-flowing in my lifestyle. I have some overarching goals, but nothing finite and super specific. Guess this will be a good habit to try out. Number 3. Exercise. Apparently, poor people exercise 50% less than wealthy people. Well, that figure also doesn't take into account that poor people typically have a great deal more stress in their life than wealthy people. Taking time out to exercise when raising kids and working both a full-time and a part-time job is just not realistic for most people. Honestly, this statistic hit me as being a bit elitist, but it's a rich people habit, so I'll have to do it. Of course, I regularly exercise anyway, so honestly, this won't be that difficult to do. Number 4. Audiobooks and non-fiction reading. Okay, so this one is self-explanatory, I guess. Most wealthy people listen to audiobooks during their downtime, such as commutes to and from work, and spend plenty of time reading non-fiction books. Personally, I don't listen to audiobooks because I much prefer to read them myself, and I read both fiction and non-fiction books pretty voraciously. This is so I can stay informed on the vast variety of topics jobs like the infographics requires, but also because I like to be informed, period. The smarter you are, the more successful you're going to be. So I can totally see how this habit is beneficial for building and maintaining wealth. Guess I'll have to pick up an audiobook habit then. Number 5. To-do list. Okay, now this one I already hate. Like I mentioned before, I prefer to keep my life kind of free-flowing, and I've never ever in my life made a to-do list. Yet most rich people have to-do lists versus only around 19% of the poor. Again, totally makes sense and totally not my cup of tea. The girlfriend makes to-do list for literally everything. I make fun of her and ask her if she's going to to-do list our vacations when we have a getaway together. She's tried to get me to do this myself, and I've flat out refused for years. Probably why she's far more successful than me, to be honest. You know how God has a sense of humor? He makes complete opposites fall madly in love. Number 6. Lastly, the final habit I'll be adopting or tweaking will be volunteering. Apparently, volunteering is proven to increase happiness, which directly improves just about everything in your life. I actually already volunteer with teenagers suffering from sexual assault and mentor one kid one-on-one. I sneak in other bits of volunteering here and there, but for this month, I'll try to make a greater focus of it and see how it affects me. So there we go, 6 habits to work on, and then maybe in a month's time I can march straight into the infographics and demand more money for my sufferings. I wonder if they thought about how this challenge may backfire on them. Day 7. Week 1 done and dusted. It was kinda weird to shake up my life and try to incorporate all of these things into my daily routine, but I guess after over a year of infographics challenges, I'm kinda used to the random chaos, so adapting wasn't that difficult. To start off, I began waking up earlier than usual because I read somewhere that rich people start their day early, like really early. I'm talking like 5 o'clock early. That's been a nightmare because I typically wake up early just long enough to kiss the girlfriend goodbye as she leaves and then go back to sleep until the dog wakes me up because he has to poop. That's the best thing about my job. You make your own schedule. So I've been getting up early and eating a healthy breakfast instead of my Smacks or Raisin Bran I love so much because both are loaded with sugar. That means fresh fruit, oatmeal, and other random and completely bland things that oatmeal people with no discernible pulse eat. You know, healthy stuff. Okay, I might trash it, but after a week, honestly, I do feel a bit more energetic in the morning. And even though I love sleeping in, I also hate to admit it, but I'm being more productive. I stepped up my volunteering and on top of my mentoring, started doing Meals on Wheels 3 times a week. Basically, you deliver hot meals to seniors who can't really leave the house, or who perhaps don't have much of an income or family to support them. I'm not gonna lie, this was huge for me. I've met the sweetest old ladies living home alone and it's really tugged at my heartstrings. Still reading as much as normal, but picked up audiobooks, which I totally hate. I listen to them during my downtime, so when I drive somewhere or if I take the dog on a long walk. I guess for some people, audiobooks are a great way to inform yourself while being busy throughout your day, and obviously being informed is going to make you more successful. But for me, first of all, I hate hearing another narrator speak out loud a book. It's just weird to me. And second, during my downtime, I've spent that time listening to music, which for me has traditionally been one of the ways I really boost my creativity. As a writer and a photographer, I need to let my mind wander into random, strange, weird places, and music is amazing for that, especially Monster Magnet. Every human should listen to Monster Magnet. But that's not the challenge, so I listened to audiobooks instead. I picked up Obama's Wars as an audiobook to learn more about the behind the scenes of the conflicts during his presidency, some of which affected me directly. It was definitely interesting and, as always, informative. During my regular reading time, which is also part of Rich People's Habits, I've been reading the memoirs of Nikita Khrushchev, former Soviet premier. It's interesting to see the Cold War from a totally different standpoint, and honestly, anyone who never bothered to learn past a single viewpoint is a fool. Day 14. Okay, this week I really focused on my to-do listing as well as goal setting, which was really annoying. I hate breaking down my days or even writing down goals. I mean, I definitely have goals in mind for what I want to accomplish, but I don't ever write them down or break it down into a step-by-step instruction or objectives. So I sat down with a girlfriend who makes lists for literally everything, and we broke down my goals for the rest of 2019 and 2020. I have a new art show I've been putting together and a major script I've been working on that's all my own, not a commissioned work. So we broke down step by step how and when each of those things was going to get done. For the show, we broke down exactly what I needed, how many photo shoots I'd have to do, when I'd start casting, etc., etc. It was driving me nuts. I honestly hate planning so damn much. Like I said, totally free-flowing over here. Because you know who made and loved lists? Hitler and the Nazis. I even had to sit and make daily to-do lists, which made the entire experience like pulling out teeth. I wake up every day and I have literally no idea what I'm going to do with my life that day. I mean, I know that I have due dates for this script and that script, or I have to prepare for this shoot or that shoot, but it's all just like up in the ether as far as when I'll do what. It drives my secret Nazi girlfriend insane, and she can't even figure out how I get anything done. Yet I do, and that's my point. Listen, rich people may make lists and plan out goals, but you don't have to live like they do. Some people are free-flowing, but I guess you have to be really honest with yourself and ask, are you not making to-do lists and writing down goals because you're a free-flowing person who still manages to be successful, or are you just being lazy? Day 21. I cheated on the challenge. I couldn't take it anymore and I drove myself to In-N-Out while I was home alone. And I think I ate more calories than can fit in a normal human being. I'm supposed to average less than 300 calories of junk food a day, which includes things like candy, sweets, not just fast food. And I'm pretty sure I ate a month worth of double-doubles and animal-style fries. Other than my brief slip-up, hey, nobody's perfect. The challenge wears on. In some areas, I can genuinely see how some of these habits could be of benefit. Waking up early and eating better in the morning really does make me feel better. And, well, while I always did regular exercise, I know that not doing it can really lower your self-esteem and your energy levels. Being a couch potato is not conducive to a great life. Trust me, I did, after all, do a challenge on it. But other habits are driving me insane. Making a to-do list every day drives me bonkers. Instead of feeling more focused and like I get more done, I feel constrained and uninspired. I hate seeing that little slip of paper saying what I should or should not have done throughout my day. Screw you, to-do list. You don't own me. I'm a free man. The goal setting, I guess, was good, even though I hate to admit it. getting an idea down of some practical steps to take in some of my goals was not a bad thing and actually helped me focus on them a bit more. But not when it comes to my writing. I'm supposed to have a set amount of pages done every day for the script. I'll be shopping around town when it's done, and that's just not happening. My own manager has tried countless times to get me to set these kind of goals, and sorry, but I just don't work that way. Some days I'll write a single page, other days I have literally spent from sunrise to sundown writing, even ignoring meals. The girlfriend really hates those days because it makes her worried about my health. And I love her for how she always brings me food but doesn't try to interrupt me. You can't cage inspiration, man. Day 30. Challenge completed. And honestly, when I reflect on everything that's happened over the last month, it wasn't all that terrible an experience, at least not compared to some of the other monthly or weekly challenges. I'm still psychologically recovering from spending 24 hours in a tub. So some parts of the challenge stuck, others not so much. Honestly, I think that rich people's habits can be great and definitely see the merit in a lot of them. But ultimately, you're your own person. What works for some people may not work for you, and you should embrace that. But like I said in a previous week, just be honest with yourself and admit if you're being lazy or not. The to-do lists can go straight to the deepest depths of hell and stay there. I have literally nothing else to say on the matter. Planning out my goals, though, has actually not been a bad thing. With my writing, it's impossible, but other goals are definitely more manageable. I think if you primarily work as an artist, whether that's writing, painting, photography, acting, or anything else artistic, it's definitely harder to pin down goals because typically you have a different rhythm that doesn't really mesh well with overly detailed goal lists. But I know from personal experience that not having goals is also dangerous. Leaving everything a little too freeform can be a great way to get lazy or just fail outright. Keeping your motivation can be so difficult, especially if you're just starting out as a writer, actor, or anything else that isn't really a typical 9-to-5 job. I think the one habit I'll be sticking with for sure is the increased volunteering. I've grown to love my time with Meals on Wheels. Some of those elderly people are really incredibly lonely, and the Meals on Wheels volunteers are the only people they get to see on a daily basis. It actually made me really sad to discover this. This week, me and the girlfriend went to have an afternoon tea with one of the ladies on my route and just pay her a visit, and she was so excited and happy to have company over. Of all the habits I picked up or improved on, I can't recommend volunteering your time enough. Find a cause that jives with you and go for it. Make someone else's life a little better for a day, and you'll be surprised how it makes yours better too. Also, I'm officially asking for a raise. Sorry, infographics, but you did this to yourself. Oh, and there's just one more habit I suspect rich people have, one that frees up tons of time for all these other habits like self-improvement and volunteering, and that's keeping their information safe online. And the best way to do that? With Dashlane. They'll set you up with automatically generated passwords for each different account, and with your own VPN and breach alerts to let you know if your info's been compromised, Dashlane is the one and only tool you need to keep you safe online. Using Dashlane means giving yourself peace of mind, allowing you to focus on those other habits that will help lead to being rich and successful. Head over to dashlane.com/infographics right now for a free 30-day trial, and if you use the coupon code infographics, you can get 10% off a premium subscription today. What's the craziest habit you heard of rich people having that we didn't cover in this video? Tell us in the comments, and as always, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more great content.